You wake up on Christmas morning, 1688. Not in your bed. Not in any bed you recognize. You're lying in snow. Fresh snow. The kind that hasn't been touched yet. That crunches like sugar under your weight when you try to sit up. Your breath comes out in white clouds. The air smells like pine, smoke, and something sweet. Gingerbread, maybe, or roasted chestnuts. You blink against the pale winter light, and then you see it. The village. It shouldn't be here. You know that immediately, instinctively. The way you know when you're dreaming, but can't wake up. The houses are too perfect, too colorful, painted in reds and greens and golds that seem to glow against the white landscape. The roofs are steep and covered in snow that looks sculpted, deliberate. Chimneys puff smoke in perfect spirals. Windows flicker with candlelight. Everything is curved and whimsical and wrong in a way that makes your chest tighten. This is the village of Weihnachtsdorf. Or, at least, that's what the locals called it. Christmas Village, the first recorded settlement that historians would later describe in hushed, academic whispers as proto-Whovillian architecture, a place that existed for exactly one winter. A place that, by all accounts, should never have been built at all. Because here's the thing about 1688. Europe is frozen. Not metaphorically. Literally. The Little Ice Age has its claws deep in the continent. Rivers that never froze are solid enough to host winter markets on their surfaces. Crops fail. Livestock die. People starve in numbers that make the plague look merciful. This is not a time for whimsy. This is not a time for villages painted like children's toys. And yet, Weihnachtsdorf appeared on December 1st, 1688, in the forests of southern Bavaria. No one saw it being built. No records exist of its construction. One day the forest was empty. The next day, there were 47 houses, a church with a bell tower shaped like a candy cane, and a central square with a fountain that somehow, was still flowing despite temperatures that should have frozen it solid. The first person to stumble upon it was a fur trapper named Klaus Ebermann. His journal, one of the only primary sources we have, describes his discovery in terms that border on religious ecstasy. "I thought I had died," he wrote. "I thought I had frozen in the night and this was heaven. Or something pretending to be heaven." Klaus wasn't wrong to be suspicious, because Weihnachtsdorf wasn't just unusual. It was wrong. The architecture defied contemporary building methods. The colors bright chemical? Impossible. Didn't exist yet in 1688. Lead-based paints wouldn't produce those hues for another century. The designs were too advanced, too playful, too American in their sensibility, which is a strange thing to say about a German village, but there it is. Historians who study the few surviving sketches and descriptions all come to the same uncomfortable conclusion. Weihnachtsdorf looked like something from the 20th century, like something out of a storybook that hadn't been written yet, like Whoville. You stand up in the snow, brushing ice crystals from your clothes. The village is silent, but it's not empty. You can see movement in the windows, shadows passing behind curtains, smoke rising from chimneys. Somewhere, a bell rings. Once, twice, 3 times. And then you hear the singing. It's coming from everywhere and nowhere. Children's voices, high and sweet, singing a melody you don't recognize, but that makes your throat tighten with something like nostalgia. The words are in German, but they're not quite right. The grammar is off. The pronunciation is strange. It's like hearing a language you knew as a child but have forgotten. Klaus Ebermann heard that singing too. He followed it into the village square, where he found the entire population, men, women, children, all dressed in clothing that was simultaneously period accurate and completely fantastical, gathered around the fountain. They were singing. They were smiling. They looked at him with eyes that were too bright, too knowing. "They welcomed me," Klaus wrote. They called me by name. They offered me food and warmth and a place to sleep. They treated me like I was expected, like I was home. He stayed for 3 days. On the 4th day, he ran. What made him run? His journal becomes fragmented here, almost incoherent. He mentions the food. Too sweet, like poison disguised as sugar. He mentions the children. They never stopped smiling, even when they slept. He mentions the bells. They rang every hour, but the hours were wrong. They came too fast or too slow. Time was broken there. But mostly, he mentions the cold. Not outside, inside. The houses were warm, he wrote. The fires burned. The ovens baked bread. But I was so cold. We were all so cold. I could see my breath even inside, even next to the fire. The cold came from within. It was eating us from the inside out. Klaus Ebermann made it back to the nearest town, half frozen and raving. He told his story. Some believed him. Most didn't. But enough people were curious or desperate, because remember, this was the Little Ice Age, and any shelter was better than none. The small group set out to find Weihnachtsdorf. They found the forest. They found Klaus's tracks in the snow, leading deeper and deeper into the trees. But they didn't find the village. It was gone, completely. No ruins. No foundations. No sign that anything had ever been there except for one detail. In the clearing where Klaus insisted the village had stood, the snow was covered in footprints. Hundreds of them. Small footprints like children's, arranged in perfect circles like they'd been dancing. And in the center of the largest circle, frozen into the ice, was a single sheet of music. The song the children had been singing. No one recognized the melody. The notation was strange, almost modern. The lyrics, when scholars finally translated them decades later, made no sense. They were instructions. Directions, a recipe, maybe, or a ritual. Sleep deep. Dream sweet. Wake not. We sing until the snow remembers. What does that mean? What the hell does that mean? You're still standing in the snow, staring at the village. The singing continues. The bells ring. The smoke rises. Everything looks so inviting, so warm, so wrong. You take a step forward, then another. Your feet are numb. Your fingers ache. The cold is in your bones now, settling in like it plans to stay forever. But the village is right there. You can see the light in the windows. You can smell the bread baking. You can hear the laughter. All you have to do is walk through that gate. All you have to do is say yes. Klaus Ebermann tried to go back, after he recovered. After the spring thaw, he wanted to prove he wasn't mad. He wanted to find it again. He went back to that forest 17 times over the next 20 years. He never found it. But every Christmas Eve until the day he died, he swore he could hear the singing. Distant, faint, like it was coming from very far away or from very deep below. And here's the thing that will keep you up at night. 337 years later, we're still finding pieces of Weihnachtsdorf. Not in Bavaria, not in Germany at all. In places that make no sense. A carved wooden door in a Vermont attic, dated 1688, painted in colors that didn't exist yet. A set of bells in a London museum, inscribed with words no one can translate. A child's toy in a private collection in Tokyo, stitched with thread made from fibers that don't appear in any botanical record. The village is gone, but it's not finished. If this feels too real, you should probably subscribe before it gets worse. Because Block 2 is where we talk about the children. And why they're still singing. Let's talk about the children, because that's where this story really begins. Not with Klaus Ebermann stumbling through the snow. Not with the impossible architecture or the too bright colors or the singing that follows you home. No, it starts with the children of Weihnachtsdorf and the fact that According to every single account, every sketch, every terrified testimony, they were all exactly the same age, 7 years old. All of them, every single one. You're walking through the village now, even though some distant part of your brain is screaming at you to turn around, to run, to get as far away from this place as possible. But you can't, because it's Christmas morning, and you're cold, and the village looks so warm. So you walk. Past the candy cane lampposts that shouldn't exist. Past the houses with their gingerbread trim and their windows full of light. Past the fountain in the square where water flows in defiance of every law of physics and common sense. And the children are everywhere. They're playing in the snow, building snowmen with faces that are too detailed, too expressive. They're holding hands in circles, spinning and laughing. They're standing in doorways, watching you with eyes that are bright and knowing and ancient. They're all dressed the same. Wool coats in red and green, knitted scarves, mittens with patterns that seem to shift when you're not looking directly at them. And they're all 7 years old. Not approximately, not around 7. Exactly 7. As if they were all born on the same day. As if they've been 7 years old forever. Here's what the historical records tell us. In November 1688, 43 children disappeared from villages across southern Bavaria. Different towns, different families, different circumstances. Some vanished from their beds at night. Others walked away from their homes in broad daylight, leaving behind parents who swore they saw nothing unusual, heard no struggle, noticed no fear. The children just left. The disappearances happened over the course of 3 weeks. Weihnachtsdorf appeared exactly 1 week after the last child vanished. Coincidence? Maybe. If you believe in coincidences that involve 43 missing children, a village that appears overnight, and a winter that historians still call the year without God, the authorities at the time, what few authorities existed in rural Bavaria during the Little Ice Age, conducted searches. Of course they did. 43 children don't just disappear without consequences. But the searches found nothing. No bodies, no evidence of abduction, no ransom demands. The children were simply gone, as if they'd been erased from the world, until Klaus Ebermann found the village and counted exactly 43 children living there. His journal, and God, what a gift to historians that Klaus was literate, that he had the presence of mind to write everything down even as his sanity was unraveling, describes the children in painful detail. They move like children, he wrote. They play like children. They laugh like children. But they watch you with eyes that have seen too much. They speak in riddles. They finish each other's sentences, even when they're on opposite sides of the village. They sing together without rehearsal, in perfect harmony, songs that sound like they've been practicing for lifetimes. On Klaus's second day in Weihnachtsdorf, he tried to speak with one of the children, a girl with blonde braids and a red coat. He asked her name. She smiled, that same bright, unsettling smile, and said, "We don't have names anymore. We had names before, but they didn't fit here. Nothing from before fits here." He asked where she came from. "From the cold," she said. "We were so cold." "Weren't you cold?" He asked about her parents. The girl's smile never wavered. "We're all parents here. We're all children. It's all the same when you sing long enough." Then she took his hand. Her fingers were ice cold. Klaus noted, colder than the snow, colder than anything should be while still being alive, and led him to the church. Now, the church deserves its own description, because it's the centerpiece of Weihnachtsdorf's wrongness. Imagine a cathedral, but scaled down to the size of a village chapel. Imagine Gothic architecture, but rendered in gingerbread and candy and whimsy. The bell tower is striped like a peppermint stick. The windows are stained glass, but the scenes depicted don't match any biblical narrative. They show children, always children, dancing in circles, singing, playing, and in every window, in the background, something dark and massive and shapeless, like a shadow that's learning to be solid. The girl led Klaus inside. The interior was warm, the only place in the village that felt genuinely warm, he noted, and filled with the smell of cinnamon and cloves. The pews were empty, except for one figure sitting at the front, facing the altar. A woman, or something that used to be a woman. Klaus's description here becomes fragmented, almost poetic in its horror. She was old and young at once. Her hair was white, but her face was smooth. Her hands were gnarled, but her movements were graceful. She wore a dress the color of winter sky, and when she turned to look at me, I saw that her eyes were black, not dark brown, not shadowed, black, like holes, like absence. The girl released Klaus's hand and ran to the woman, who embraced her with a tenderness that seemed genuine, which somehow made it worse. "This is Mother Frost," the girl said. "She sings us warm." The woman, Mother Frost, if we're accepting that designation, spoke to Klaus in a voice he described as like wind through empty houses. She welcomed him. She thanked him for coming. She asked if he was ready to sing. Klaus, to his credit, asked the only question that mattered. "Where are their parents?" Mother Frost smiled, or her mouth moved in a way that suggested smiling. "Cold," she said. "So cold. The world is cold now. You feel it, don't you? The cold that's coming. The cold that never leaves." The children were cold. They cried in their beds at night. They shivered. They suffered. So I brought them here, where it's warm, where we sing. "But they're not warm," Klaus said. Because he touched the girl's hand, he knew. "They're frozen. Outside, yes," Mother Frost agreed. "But inside, in their hearts, in their songs, they're warm forever. They'll never be cold again." Isn't that what every parent wants? Klaus ran then. He didn't wait for permission. He didn't ask questions. He just ran out of the church, through the village, into the forest, while behind him the children sang, and Mother Frost's laughter followed like wind. But here's what Klaus couldn't have known, what wouldn't be discovered until much, much later. The children's parents were still alive. Most of them, anyway. They survived the winter of 1688 to 1689. They had more children. They grew old. They died natural deaths. But every single one of them, every parent who lost a child to Weihnachtsdorf, reported the same recurring dream for the rest of their lives. They dreamed they could hear their children singing, not crying, not calling for help. Just ... singing. Christmas carols, lullabies, songs that didn't exist yet, that wouldn't be written for centuries. The parents would wake up crying, not from sadness, but from something more complicated, something like relief mixed with horror. Because in the dreams, their children sounded happy. Their children sounded warm. Their children sounded like they were exactly where they wanted to be, which is worse, somehow, than if they'd been screaming. You're standing in the village square now, surrounded by children. They've stopped playing. They're all looking at you. 43 pairs of eyes, bright and knowing. And they're starting to sing. Not the song from before, a different one. This one has no words, just melody, high and pure and impossibly beautiful. And you realize with a horror that makes your chest constrict that you know this song. You don't know how you know it. You've never heard it before. But it's familiar anyway, like something from a dream you can't quite remember. Like something your mother sang to you when you were very young, before language, before memory. The children are smiling. They're taking steps toward you. And the worst part, the absolute worst part, is that you want to stay. Some traitorous part of your brain is whispering that it's warm here, that the singing is beautiful, that maybe Klaus was wrong, Maybe he was just afraid of something he didn't understand. Maybe Mother Frost was right. Maybe being warm forever is worth the price. The children are very close now. Their hands are reaching out. Block 3 is where we learn what happened to the search parties. Spoiler, they found something. And it wasn't the village. 3 search parties went into the forest after Klaus Ebermann told his story. Only one came back. Sort of. Let's set the scene properly, because context matters when we're talking about disappearances that shouldn't be possible. It's January 1689 now. Klaus has been raving in the tavern of Wolfratshausen for 3 days straight, telling anyone who'll listen about the village that appears and disappears, about the children who never age, about Mother Frost and her black hole eyes. Most people think he's lost his mind. The winter does that, makes men see things that aren't there, makes them believe in monsters. But some people listen, because 43 children are still missing. Because the winter of 1688 has already killed hundreds through cold and starvation. And the idea that something might be sheltering children, even in an impossible village, is too tempting to ignore. The first search party consisted of 12 men. Hunters, mostly. Men who knew the forests, who could track a rabbit through fresh snow, who didn't spook easily. They followed Klaus's directions. They went deep into the Bavarian woods, to the clearing he'd described. They searched for 3 days. They found nothing. No village, no tracks, no sign that anything had ever been there, except, and this is important, the trees. The trees in that clearing were different. Wrong. They grew in perfect circles, which trees don't do naturally. Their branches were bare, but when the searchers looked closely, they could see something carved into the bark. Not words, symbols. Geometric patterns that seemed to shift and change depending on the angle you viewed them from. One of the searchers, a man named Johann Keller, made sketches of these symbols. We still have those sketches. They match patterns that wouldn't appear in European art for another 200 years. Art Nouveau, specifically, with its flowing organic lines and impossible geometry. They also match patterns found in Scandinavian runework, Tibetan mandalas, and this is where it gets weird, in the neural mapping patterns of children's brains during REM sleep. How would carvers in 1688 know what a sleeping child's neurons look like? They wouldn't, unless someone showed them. The first search party returned empty-handed but alive, which is more than can be said for the second group. The second search party was smaller. 6 men, including a local priest named Father Benedict Hartmann. They went out on January 15th. The plan was simple. Search for 3 days, like the first group, then return regardless of findings. Safety in numbers. Clear timeline. What could go wrong? Everything, as it turns out. Father Hartmann kept a journal during the search. Priests in the 17th century were meticulous documentarians. God bless them, and his entries become increasingly disturbing as the days progress. Day 1. The forest is quiet. Too quiet. The birds have all fled. We find the clearing Klaus described. The trees bear strange marks. The men are uneasy. I pray for guidance. Day 2. We heard singing last night. All of us heard it. Coming from deeper in the forest. The men wanted to follow it. I forbade them. We are not here to chase phantoms. We stayed in our camp. The singing continued until dawn. None of us slept. Day 3. 2 men are missing. They vanished during the night. We searched for them until midday. We found their boots. Just their boots, placed neatly side by side in the snow, 3 miles from our camp. The boots were warm. Still warm, as if they'd just been removed. We're leaving? Whatever is in these woods, it is not of God. The search party, now 4 men instead of 6, started their return journey on the morning of January 18th, they never made it back. Or rather, one of them did. Eventually, Father Hartmann walked into Wolfratshausen on March 3rd, 1689, 44 days after he'd left. He was barefoot. His clothes were in tatters. His face was frostbitten so badly that parts of his nose and ears had turned black. He was singing the same song Klaus had described. A children's song. He sang it continuously for 6 hours before anyone could get him to speak. When he finally did, his words were recorded by the town clerk, another gift to historians, and they paint a picture that's somehow worse than anything Klaus described. "We found it," Father Hartmann said. "The village. We found it on the 4th day. It was exactly where Klaus said it would be. The houses, the church, the children. They were waiting for us. They knew our names. They welcomed us like old friends." The clerk asked what happened to the other men. "They stayed," Father Hartmann said. His voice was flat, affectless, like someone reading from a script. They wanted to stay. The children sang and the men cried, and Mother Frost welcomed them. She said they could be warm forever. She said the world outside was too cold, too cruel. She said we all deserved better. The clerk asked why Father Hartmann didn't stay. For the first time, emotion crept into the priest's voice. Because I looked into her eyes, Mother Frost's eyes, and I saw what she is. She's not a woman. She's not a demon. She's something older. Something that existed before God, before Christ, before warmth. She's the cold itself. The cold made conscious, made hungry, and she's been here all along, waiting. Waiting for the world to get cold enough that we'd welcome her. Father Hartmann died 3 days later. The official cause of death was exposure and frostbite, but the town physician noted something strange in his report. Father Hartmann's body temperature never rose. Even next to a roaring fire, even wrapped in blankets, even after drinking hot soup, his skin remained ice cold to the touch, as if the cold had gotten inside him and decided to stay. And here's where the story takes a turn into the actively supernatural. On the night Father Hartmann died, every child in Wolfratshausen woke up screaming, all of them, same time, same nightmare. They dreamed of a village in the snow, and children singing, and a woman with eyes like empty sky who promised they'd never be cold again. The children were terrified. The parents were terrified, but no one could explain it. The third search party, because human beings are nothing if not persistent in the face of obvious danger, was organized in early April after the worst of winter had passed. This one was different, larger, 25 men, including soldiers from Munich. They brought guns, dogs, supplies for a week-long expedition. They were going to find this village, burn it to the ground if necessary, and bring back those children. They found the clearing on the 2nd day. The trees were still there, still arranged in perfect circles, still bearing those impossible carved symbols. But something new had been added. In the center of the clearing, where the village should have been, was a cairn, a pile of stones about waist-high, arranged with obvious deliberation. And on top of the cairn was a piece of paper, held down by a rock. The paper was sheet music, a children's song, but this version was different. It had lyrics now, in German, but written in a hand that looked almost childlike, almost playful. Come sleep where winter never ends, where cold becomes a friend, where children sing and never age, and warmth is just pretend. The world outside is dying slow, but here we're always warm. Come rest beneath our Christmas snow and wait for the next storm. The search party burned the cairn. They burned the paper. They even tried to burn the trees, though the wood wouldn't catch fire properly, wouldn't burn clean. It just smoldered and produced smoke that smelled like cinnamon and made everyone's eyes water. They searched for 5 more days and found nothing else. No village, no children. No Mother Frost. But on the sixth day, as they were preparing to leave, they found something that made them wish they'd never come at all. Footprints. Hundreds of them. Small footprints. Children's footprints. Leading away from the clearing in every direction, spreading out into the forest like spokes on a wheel. The tracks were fresh, made that morning, maybe even that hour. But the search party had seen no children, had heard nothing, had been in that clearing all night and seen nothing. And yet the footprints were there, impossible to deny, impossible to explain. Each track led exactly 1 mile from the clearing before stopping abruptly, as if the child making it had simply evaporated mid-step. At the end of each trail, they found the same thing, a small pile of snow, shaped like a sleeping child. 43 of them. The search party returned to Wolfratshausen and recommended the forest be declared forbidden ground. The local authorities agreed. Maps were updated. Warning signs were posted. For the next 200 years, that section of the Bavarian woods was avoided by everyone except the most desperate or most foolish. But here's what no one could explain. Every Christmas Eve from 1689 onward, people in Wolfratshausen reported hearing singing, distant, faint, like it was coming from very far away. Children's voices, high and sweet, singing a melody that made grown men weep and mothers clutch their children close. The singing lasted exactly 1 hour, from midnight to 1 in the morning, Christmas morning, and every year, without fail, at least one child in the town would wake up on Christmas Day and ask their parents, "Who were the children in my dream? The ones who wanted me to come play with them in the snow? You're standing in the clearing now." The one from the stories, 337 years later, but somehow you know it's the same place. The trees are still arranged in circles. The symbols are still carved into the bark, though they're worn and faded now. The snow is deep and untouched, except there are footprints. Small ones, leading toward you. Block 4 is where we stop pretending this is just history, because Weihnachtsdorf never really disappeared. It just learned to hide better. Here's a question that will ruin your night. What if Weihnachtsdorf didn't vanish? What if it just learned to be patient? You're following the footprints now, against every survival instinct you possess. The prints are small and perfect, pressed into snow that feels wrong under your boots. Too soft, too giving, like walking on something that's pretending to be snow but hasn't quite mastered the texture. The trees around you are silent. No birds, no wind. Just your breathing and the crunch of your footsteps and the growing certainty that you're being watched. Let's jump forward in time, because the story of Weihnachtsdorf doesn't end in 1689. It doesn't even pause. It just changes shape. 1702. A village in Switzerland reports that 14 children disappeared on Christmas Eve. They all walked out of their homes at midnight, barefoot, in nightgowns, into a snowstorm that should have killed them in minutes. Search parties found nothing. But one detail caught the attention of a local scholar. Days before the disappearances, the children had all been singing the same song, a song their parents didn't teach them. A song in German, which was odd, because these were French-speaking Swiss children. A song about being warm forever. 1745. In rural Sweden, a traveling merchant named Eric Lindström reports discovering a fantastical village while lost in a blizzard. His description matches Weihnachtsdorf almost exactly. The candy-colored houses, the impossible architecture, the children who never aged. Eric stayed for one night. He described feeling intensely cold despite the fires and watched by invisible eyes. He left at dawn. When he tried to return with witnesses, the village was gone. But Eric's diary contained something new. Sketches of the buildings. And those sketches show architectural details that wouldn't appear in European design for another century. 1803. A German folklorist named Heinrich Steiner publishes a collection of local legends. One entry describes Das Geisterdorf, the ghost village that appears once every generation to collect the cold children. Steiner dismisses it as superstition, but his notes contain first-hand accounts from 7 different regions, spanning 80 years, all describing the same phenomenon. Same village, same children, same woman with black eyes, same song. The pattern is impossible to ignore once you see it. Every 20 to 40 years, different locations, but always rural, always remote, always during particularly harsh winters. Always children disappearing. Always the same descriptions of a village that shouldn't exist. Weihnachtsdorf isn't a place. It's a phenomenon. Or worse, it's an organism. Something that moves. Something that hunts. Now we need to talk about the frostbite papers. In 1891, a German anthropologist named Dr. Friedrich Weiss became obsessed with collecting accounts of Weihnachtsdorf. He spent 30 years tracking down stories, interviewing survivors. Yes, there were others besides Klaus and Father Hartmann, though most didn't live long compiling data. His work was never officially published, but his papers were discovered in 2003 in the basement of a Munich museum, stored in boxes labeled Folklore Disputed. The frostbite papers contain over 300 documented accounts of Weihnachtsdorf sightings between 1688 and 1920. Dr. Weiss plotted them on a map. And when you look at that map, which has been digitized and is available to researchers, though good luck getting clear answers about what it means, you see something disturbing. The sightings move in a pattern. Not random, not scattered, but deliberate, like something is following migration routes or hunting grounds. The village appears in areas where winters are harsh, where child mortality is high, where people are desperate, where the cold is winning. Dr. Weiss had a theory. He laid it out in a paper that was rejected by every academic journal he submitted it to. The paper was titled Das lebende Winter, the living winter. His argument was this: Weihnachtsdorf is not a supernatural phenomenon in the traditional sense. It's an ecological one. It's winter itself, evolved into something conscious. Something that learned to build shelter, to sing songs, to offer warmth as bait. An apex predator made of cold. The academic community laughed at him, called him a crank, a madman. Dr. Weiss died in 1923, discredited and alone, still clutching his maps and his data and his certainty that he was right. But here's the thing. After Dr. Weiss died, the sightings stopped. Completely. From 1923 to 1988, there are no credible reports of Weihnachtsdorf. None. It's as if the village, the phenomenon, the entity, whatever it is, just vanished, retired, went dormant. Or maybe it was just waiting for the right moment to come back. 1988. A group of hikers in the Austrian Alps report finding a bizarre village during a snowstorm. They describe it as looking like something from a movie, with buildings painted in colors too bright for the landscape. They don't stay. They're experienced hikers. They know when something feels wrong. But they take photographs. The photographs are fascinating for 2 reasons. First, they show the village. It's there, undeniably there. The architecture matches historical descriptions perfectly. Second, when the photographs are developed, there are figures in the windows. Children's faces. Dozens of them. But the hikers swear the village appeared deserted when they were there. The hikers also report hearing singing, even through the storm, even from hundreds of yards away. A melody that made them feel homesick for a place we've never been. The photographs were analyzed by experts. No tampering. No double exposure. The village in those pictures is real. Or as real as anything can be. Since 1988, there have been 17 documented sightings of Weihnachtsdorf. The frequency is increasing. The locations are spreading. It's not just Europe anymore. There are reports from Canada, from Russia, from northern Japan, always in winter, always in isolated areas, always accompanied by missing children. Though now, in our modern, connected world, the disappearances get noticed faster, investigated harder, and get explained away just as quickly. Runaways, accidents, tragic but mundane. Nothing supernatural here. Move along. But the families know. They know because they're children, the ones who come back, and some do come back. Though they're never quite the same, all tell the same story. They dreamed of a village. They heard singing. They felt warm for the first time in their lives. And they wanted to stay. Some of them still do. You've been walking for what feels like hours, but can't be more than minutes because the clearing is still visible behind you somehow, even though you've walked in a straight line and should be deep in the forest by now. The footprints continue. They're multiplying now. One set became 2, became 5, became dozens, all small, all heading in the same direction, toward a light in the distance. A glow that's too warm, too inviting, too wrong to be natural fire. You know what it is. You know you should turn back. But it's so cold. Your fingers are numb. Your face aches. Your breath comes in painful gasps. And that glow, that warm, golden, impossible glow, promises relief. You take another step. The footprints in the snow aren't just leading you anymore. They're surrounding you, circling. As if dozens of children have been walking in spirals around your path, getting closer with each rotation, herding you gently, inevitably, toward that light. In 2019, a climatologist named Dr. Sarah Chung published a paper that got very little attention outside her field. It was titled, Anomalous Temperature Patterns in Historical Winter Severity Data. Dry stuff. Academic. The kind of thing only other climatologists would read. But buried in her data was something remarkable. Every location where Weihnachtsdorf has been reported corresponds exactly with temperature anomalies. Spots where winter is colder than it should be. Not by much, 2 or 3 degrees Celsius, but consistent, measurable, unexplainable. And here's what made Dr. Chen's paper different from Dr. Weiss's rejected manuscript. She had satellite data. Temperature mapping from orbit shows these cold spots as darker blue patches on thermal imaging. Most are small, insignificant. But when Dr. Chun overlaid historical, Weihnachtsdorf sighting locations onto modern thermal maps, every single cold spot matched. Every single one. Including spots where no sightings have been reported yet. Dr. Chun presented her findings at a conference in Geneva. She suggested, carefully, academically, without committing to anything too wild, that perhaps these cold spots were attractors for folkloric attribution. That people experiencing unusual cold might be more likely to imagine or misperceive things. But after her presentation, an elderly man approached her. He identified himself as a retired German archivist. He'd worked in the Munich Museum where the frostbite papers had been stored. And he told Dr. Chun something that wasn't in any official record. Dr. Weiss's final notes, written days before his death, contained calculations. Mathematical models attempting to predict where Weihnachtsdorf would appear next. Dr. Weiss had marked 17 locations. 16 of them matched Dr. Chun's cold spot data exactly. The 17th location was different, bigger. The cold spot on Dr. Chun's map was 3 times larger than any other. The temperature anomaly more severe. And it wasn't in some remote mountain range or isolated forest. It was in suburban Vermont, just outside Burlington, where, in December 2018, 5 children had disappeared during a Christmas Eve party. They'd walked out of a heated community center into a snowstorm. Search dogs lost their scent after half a mile. The children were never found. The official report cited tragic accident and exposure. But one detail didn't make the news. 3 days after the disappearances, a mail carrier reported finding a strange structure at the edge of the woods where the search dogs had lost the trail. She described it as like a little village, but wrong, like a movie set that's too perfect. She called the police. By the time they arrived 2 hours later, there was nothing there but snow and footprints, small ones, leading in circles. Dr. Chen never published a follow-up paper. When asked why, she gives different excuses: funding, time, other priorities. But people who know her say she won't go near the subject anymore, won't even discuss it. And every Christmas Eve, she unplugs her phone and stays inside with every light in her house turned on, just in case. You're close to the light now, close enough to see shapes, buildings, the distinctive silhouettes of impossible architecture, curves where there should be corners, angles that don't quite make sense, roof lines that seem to shift when you blink. Close enough to smell it. Cinnamon, cloves, pine, and underneath it all, something else. Something chemical and cold and utterly wrong. Close enough to hear the singing. Oh God, the singing. It's beautiful. That's what makes it so terrible. It's the most beautiful sound you've ever heard, and every cell in your body is screaming at you to run, because beauty that perfect isn't natural, can't be trusted, exists only to lure you closer. But you're so cold, and they're so warm. And maybe, just maybe, Klaus and Father Hartman and all those terrified witnesses were wrong. Maybe they just didn't understand. Maybe Mother Frost isn't a monster. Maybe she's a mercy. Maybe in a world that's getting colder year by year, decade by decade, century by century, maybe a place that promises warmth forever isn't a trap. Maybe it's salvation. You can see the children now, standing in the village square. 43 of them. No, more than that. So many more. 100, 200, all 7 years old, all smiling, all singing, all watching you with eyes that reflect the golden light like cat's eyes reflect headlights. And standing behind them, tall and terrible and somehow gentle, is Mother Frost. She's exactly as the description said, old and young, beautiful and grotesque. Her dress is the color of winter sky. Her hair is white frost. Her skin is the blue-white of deep ice. And her eyes are not black. They're clear, perfectly, horribly clear. You can see through them, see into them, see all the winter that has ever been and ever will be. See the little ice age and the frost fairs on the Thames and the Donner Party frozen in mountain, passes and Antarctic explorers dying in their tents, and every single person who has ever said, "I'm so cold," in the moment. Before they stopped saying anything at all. Mother Frost is not a woman. Mother Frost is not even a creature. Mother Frost is winter itself, given form and purpose and something like love. She spreads her arms. The children's singing swells, and you realize with a clarity that cuts through the cold and the confusion and the enchantment that you're not the first adult to see this. Klaus saw it. Father Hartman saw it. All those search parties and hikers and witnesses saw it. But they all ran. They all chose the cold world over the warm lie. And you understand why. Because this isn't salvation. This is preservation. Mother Frost doesn't kill the children. She doesn't even hurt them. She does exactly what she promises. She makes them warm, forever, perfectly, eternally, by stopping them, by freezing them in a moment of perfect happiness so complete that they never need to move forward again. Never need to grow up, grow old, grow cold. They get to stay 7 forever. They get to sing forever. They get to be warm forever. And all it costs is everything that comes after. Mother Frost's voice, like wind through empty houses, like ice cracking on a frozen lake, reaches you across the snow. You're cold. You're always cold. Come be warm with us. Come sing with us. Come stay. The children echo her. Stay, 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 ... It would be so easy. Just one step forward. Just one yes. Just surrender to the cold that's already inside you, that's been inside everyone since the world began, and let it transform into something that feels like warmth. Behind you, kilometers away, is the modern world. Heating bills and climate change and wars over resources and children who know too much too young, and a future that's uncertain at best. Behind you is everything hard and painful and real. In front of you is a fairy tale, a lie made of snow and song, a promise that can't be kept but feels so good to believe. Which do you choose? Block 5 is where we meet the ones who stayed and learn what they remember. Spoiler, it's not what you think. Let's talk about the ones who returned, because not every child who enters Weihnachtsdorf stays forever. Some come back. Not many, maybe 1 in 20, maybe fewer, but enough to establish a pattern. Enough to tell us something about what happens inside that village of eternal Christmas morning. Enough to make the story so much worse. You're standing at the edge of the village now, frozen. Not from cold, but from choice. Mother Frost is still waiting, patient as winter itself. The children are still singing. And you're balanced on the knife edge of a decision that will define everything that comes after. But before you choose, you should know what happens to the children who choose wrong, or right, or, and this is the terrifying possibility, there is no wrong or right. There's only choosing, and everything the choice takes from you. The first documented returner was a girl named Anna Muller. She disappeared from her home in Bavaria on Christmas Eve, 1691. 3 years after Klaus Ebermann's original discovery. 3 years of warnings and forbidden forests and parents clutching their children closer during winter. But Anna vanished anyway, walked out into the snow in her nightgown, and never came home. Until she did. 6 months later, in June 1692, Anna walked out of the forest. Same nightgown, now tattered. Same blonde hair, now matted. Same age, 7 years old, as when she'd left. But something was wrong. Her parents knew it immediately. The way she moved, the way she spoke, the way she looked at them with eyes that were simultaneously her own and completely alien. Anna didn't remember where she'd been. Or she remembered, but couldn't explain it. Or, and this is what her mother suspected, she remembered perfectly, but had been told not to tell. When Anna's parents asked where she'd been for 6 months, she said, "It's been 6 months?" When they asked if she'd been cold, she said, "I don't remember being cold. I don't remember being anything." When they asked if anyone had heard her, she smiled, that bright, unsettling smile that Klaus had described the children having, and said, "We sang. That's all. We sang and sang and sang, and it was always Christmas morning." Anna lived to be 43 years old. She married. She had children. She seemed, by all accounts, normal, except for 3 things. First, she never felt temperature correctly again. She would stand outside in snowstorms without a coat and claim she wasn't cold. She would touch burning stoves and not flinch. Her husband noted in his diary that her skin was always cool to the touch, even in summer, even with fever. Second, she sang, constantly, under her breath, while working, while eating, while sleeping. The same melody, the same children's song from Weihnachtsdorf. When her own children asked her to stop, she would look confused as if she didn't realize she'd been making sound. Third, every Christmas Eve for the rest of her life, Anna would walk to the edge of the forest and stand there until dawn, staring into the trees, waiting. When asked what she was waiting for, she would say, "They're going to come back for me. They promised. When I'm ready to stay forever, they'll come back." They never did. Anna died in 1734. Her last words, recorded by her daughter, were, "I should have stayed. I should have been warm." There are 17 documented cases of returners between 1691 and 1920. Dr. Weiss, bless his obsessive soul, tracked down as many as he could. He interviewed survivors, collected testimonies, established patterns. The frostbite papers contain detailed case studies of each one. And every single returner shares the same characteristics. They don't age normally. Not in obvious ways. They don't stay children forever, but their aging is wrong. Slower than it should be, or faster in strange bursts, or inconsistent in ways that are hard to quantify but impossible to miss. One man looked 30 at age 50. One woman looked 60 at age 30. Their bodies couldn't remember how time works. They maintain abnormal body temperature. Some too cold, some too hot, some fluctuating wildly. All of them describe feeling disconnected from physical sensation, as if their bodies are something they're wearing rather than something they are. They remember the singing, but nothing else. Press them for details about Weihnachtsdorf, about the buildings, the food, the other children, and they go vague. It was nice. It was warm. We sang, but the song itself they remember perfectly. Every note, every word, and they sing it compulsively for the rest of their lives. They all report the same dream. Same exact dream, across centuries, across cultures. They dream they're standing in snow, outside the village, watching themselves inside. They see themselves singing, smiling, perfectly happy, and they feel a grief so profound that they wake up sobbing. Not grief for what they lost, grief for what they left behind. And here's the detail that should keep you up at night. None of them, not one single returner in 200 years of documentation, ever said they were rescued. None claimed to have escaped. When pressed on how they got away from Weihnachtsdorf, they all say the same thing. Mother Frost let me go. Not I left. Not I escaped. She let them go. Which raises the obvious question. Why? Dr. Weiss had a theory about this too. It's in his final notes, the ones written just before his death. His handwriting is shaky here, almost illegible, as if he was writing in cold so severe his fingers wouldn't work properly. He wrote, "The returners are not escapees. They are messengers. Mother Frost sent them back deliberately. They are living advertisements. Proof that the village is real. Proof that it offers what it promises. But they're also warnings. Look at them. Damaged, disconnected, haunted. They show us the price of warmth. And yet people still want to go. Because even a damaged kind of warmth is better than the cold we have. Mother Frost understands this. She's patient. She can wait. The colder the world gets, the more appealing her offer becomes." Dr. Weiss's final paragraph reads, "I think I finally understand. Weihnachtsdorf isn't hunting us. It's cultivating us. Waiting for the moment when humanity is so cold, so desperate, so broken that we'll walk into that village voluntarily. Not as victims, as refugees. And when that happens, when we choose winter over suffering, Mother Frost will have won without ever forcing our hand." He died that night. Heart attack, officially. But the doctor who examined his body noted, deceased's core temperature was 23 degrees Celsius, incompatible with life. No explanation for how he remained alive as long as he did. Let's jump to modern times. Because the returners didn't stop in 1920. They just got better at hiding. In 1995, a boy named Thomas Keating disappeared from a ski resort in Colorado. He was 7 years old. He vanished during a snowstorm on Christmas Eve. Search and rescue found nothing. His parents grieved. The story made local news for a week, then faded. Thomas came back 6 years later. He walked into the ski resort on Christmas Eve, 2001. Still 7 years old. Still wearing the same clothes he'd disappeared in. The resort staff thought it was an elaborate prank until they ran his fingerprints and confirmed his identity. His parents were called. DNA tests were conducted. It was definitely Thomas. He'd been gone for 6 years and hadn't aged a single day. The media went insane. National coverage. International coverage. Theories ranging from alien abduction to elaborate hoax to government conspiracy. Thomas and his family were hounded for months. But Thomas himself said almost nothing. When asked where he'd been, he would say, "Somewhere warm." When asked if he'd been harmed, he would say, "We sang." When psychologists tried to extract more information, he would smile and hum. That song. Always that song. Thomas Keating is still alive. He's 35 years old now, but he looks 17? 20? It's hard to say he lives alone. He works night shifts at a 24-hour convenience store. He doesn't give interviews. But people who know him say he's always cold. He wears 3 jackets in summer. He keeps his apartment heated to 90 degrees. And every Christmas Eve, he drives out to the mountains where he disappeared and sits in his car until dawn, waiting. When asked what he's waiting for, he says, "For when I'm ready." There are others. Dr. Chen's research, before she stopped, identified 43 cases of temporal anomaly disappearances between 1988 and 2018. Children who vanished and returned unchanged or barely changed after impossible amounts of time. Not all of them mention villages or singing or women with black eyes, but all of them display the same symptoms as the historical returners. And all of them describe feeling like they left something behind, something important, something they can't quite remember but miss desperately. One returner, a girl named Emma, who disappeared in 2003 and came back in 2009, put it this way during her therapy sessions. It's like, imagine you had a perfect day, the best day of your life, and then you woke up and it was over, and you have to live the rest of your life knowing you'll never feel that good again, except you can't remember what made it perfect. You just know it was, and you'd give anything, to go back. Emma killed herself in 2015. She was 14 years old. She left a note that said only, "I want to be warm again." You're still standing at the edge of Weihnachtsdorf. Mother Frost is still waiting. The children are still singing. And now you understand what you're really choosing between. Stay, and you'll be warm forever. You'll sing forever. You'll be happy in a way that makes all other happiness feel like an imitation. You'll be safe from the cold world and everything it contains. But you'll stop. You'll stop growing. Stop changing. Stop being anything except that one perfect moment, preserved like an insect in amber, beautiful and dead and eternal. Leave, and you'll carry the memory of that warmth with you forever. It'll haunt you, hollow you out, make every real day feel cold by comparison. You'll spend your life homesick for a place that isn't home, nostalgic for a moment you can barely remember. But you'll be alive, really alive, growing, changing, suffering, moving forward. Mother Frost knows you're considering leaving. She can see it in your hesitation. And for the first time since you arrived, her expression changes. Not to anger, not to threat, to something sadder, something almost human. She says, "I'm not cruel. I never force, I only offer. And yes, I let some return. Because they need to. because the warmth won't hold them yet. But they always regret it. Every single one. The cold outside is so much worse once you've known what real warmth feels like. The children stop singing. In the sudden silence, you can hear your own heartbeat, your own breathing, your own life still functioning, still moving forward, still subject to time and entropy and all the forces that make existence hurt. Mother Frost extends her hand. The children watch. And you have to choose. Block 6 is where we learn what happens if you run. Spoiler, Mother Frost lets you, but she doesn't let you go alone. You run. Of course, you run. Because you're human, and humans are cowards when faced with immortality. We talk a good game about wanting to live forever, but when someone actually offers it, when we see what forever really costs, we panic. We flee. We choose the familiar horror of mortality over the unknown horror of stasis. So you run. And Mother Frost lets you. She doesn't chase, doesn't call out, doesn't send the children after you. She just watches with those clear, terrible eyes as you stumble backward, as you turn, as you sprint into the forest like Klaus Ebermann did, like Father Hartman did, like all the ones who couldn't quite surrender to warmth. The village disappears behind you almost instantly. One moment it's there, solid, glowing, impossible, and the next there's only forest, snow, darkness. The temperature drops 20 degrees in as many seconds. The cold hits you like a physical force, and you remember suddenly that you're inadequately dressed, that you've been walking in winter without proper protection. That exposure can kill you in hours, but you keep running, because the cold out here is at least honest. You run for what feels like miles but might be minutes. Time is strange in these woods. Has been strange since the village appeared. Since before that, maybe. Since 1688, since the first time Mother Frost decided humanity was ready for her offer. The trees all look the same. The snow all looks the same. You have no idea which direction you're going, only that it's away. And then you hear it. Footsteps behind you, small ones, keeping pace. You don't want to look. Every horror story you've ever heard says don't look back. Don't acknowledge the thing following you. Don't give it power. But you're human, and humans are also stupid with curiosity. So you look. There's a child. A girl, maybe 7 years old, walking through the snow about 20 yards behind you. She's not running, just walking. Casual, unhurried, keeping perfect pace with your panicked sprint. She's wearing a red coat and mittens. Her blonde hair is in braids. She's smiling. You recognize her? She was one of the children in the village square. One of the 43 or however many there were, because you'd stop counting at some point. There were so many, far more than should be possible. She'd been standing in the front row, singing louder than the others. Now she's following you. You run faster. She keeps pace. You try to lose her, darting between trees, changing direction, but it doesn't matter. Wherever you go, when you look back, she's there. Same distance. Same casual walk. Same smile. After 20 minutes of this, or hours, time is still broken out here. You stop running. Your lungs are burning. Your legs are shaking. You're going to collapse if you keep this up. So you stop, turn around, and face her. The girl stops too, still smiling. Why are you following me? You gasp out. Mother Frost sent me, she says. Her voice is sweet, musical, wrong, like a recording of a child's voice played at slightly the wrong speed, to make sure you get home safe. I don't need an escort. Everyone needs an escort. The girl tilts her head. The forest is dangerous. You could get lost. You could freeze. You could die out here, all alone, and no one would find you until spring. Mother Frost doesn't want that. She cares. She cares. Of course. The girl's smile never wavers. She cares about all of us. That's why she offers warmth. That's why she sings. You could have stayed, you know? You still can. It's not too late to turn back. I'm not going back. No, the girl agrees. You won't. Not yet. Not until you're ready. But you will be ready eventually. Everyone is, in the end. She starts walking again. Not toward you. Parallel to you, matching your direction. Come on, she calls. This way. I'll show you out. You don't trust her, obviously. She's a what? Ghost? Memory? Living doll animated by winter magic? But she's also right that you're hopelessly lost, and hypothermia is a real threat, and following her is probably smarter than wandering alone. So, you follow. She leads you through the forest with absolute confidence, never hesitating, never checking her path. After an hour, or 3 hours, or 10 minutes, you start to recognize landmarks. Trees you passed on the way in, rock formations. The forest is thinning. You're getting close to wherever you started this nightmare. What's your name? You ask, because the silence is worse than conversation. I don't remember, the girl says cheerfully. I used to have a name, before. The names don't matter in the village. We're all the same there. All one song. Don't you want to remember? Why? She looks genuinely confused. Names are for people who change. We don't change. We're perfect exactly as we are. That's not perfect. That's prison. The girl stops walking. For the first time, her smile falters. She looks at you with something like pity. You think growing is freedom. You think changing is living. But all change is loss. Every day you're different. The person you were yesterday dies. You kill yourself slowly, piece by piece, and call it life. We don't die. We don't lose. We just are, forever. That's not life either. No, the girl agrees. It's better. You've reached the edge of the forest. You can see the lights in the distance. Civilization. Safety. Whatever passes for normal in a world where villages made of Christmas magic hunt children. The girl stops at the tree line. She won't go further. This is where I leave you, she says. But I won't be far. None of us will. We're always here, singing, waiting. And when you're ready, when the cold outside gets too much, when you're tired of losing pieces of yourself, we'll welcome you home. I'm not coming back. Maybe not, the girl says, but you'll want to. Every Christmas Eve for the rest of your life, you'll feel it. The pull, the memory of warmth, it'll get stronger every year. Because the world is getting colder, you know? Not just weather, everything. And Mother Frost's offer will sound better and better until one day you'll realize it's not a temptation anymore. It's a mercy. She turns to leave, then stops. Oh, one more thing. A gift from Mother Frost for visiting. The girl reaches out and touches your hand. Her fingers are ice cold. The touch lasts less than a second, but you feel something transfer. Not physical. Deeper than that. Like she's planted something in your chest. A seed. A promise. A future. What did you do? You pull your hand back. Gave you warmth, the girl says. Just a little. Just enough so you'll remember. Sweet dreams. She walks back into the forest. Within seconds, she's invisible. Within minutes, you're wondering if she was ever there at all. You make it back to civilization. To your car or your hotel, or wherever you started from before you decided to investigate local legends about disappearing villages. You're exhausted, freezing, traumatized, but alive. You sleep, and you dream. You dream you're back in the village. But this time, you're not at the edge, deciding. You're in the center, singing with the children, and you're warm. So perfectly, impossibly warm. The cold that's been in your bones your entire life, the cold you didn't even know was there until now, is gone. You're singing, and you're happy, and you're home. You wake up crying, not from fear, from loss, because some part of you, some deep, treacherous part, wanted to stay there, in the dream, in the warmth, in the eternal Christmas morning where nothing hurts and nothing changes. This is what happens to everyone who visits Weihnachtsdorf and leaves. The returners, the survivors, the ones who ran, they all report the same thing. The dreams start immediately. They come every night for the first month, then every week, then every few weeks. Always the same. You're in the village, singing, warm, happy, home. And you always wake up feeling like you've lost something precious. Thomas Keating reported that the dreams got more intense over time, more vivid, more real. After a few years, he told his therapist, I couldn't tell which was the dream and which was reality. Was I a person who dreamed about the village? Or was I the village, dreaming I was a person? Emma, the girl who eventually killed herself, wrote in her diary, the dreams are the best part of my life. Better than birthdays. Better than Christmas. Better than anything real. I spend every day waiting to sleep so I can go back. I'm not living anymore. I'm just marking time between dreams. And it's not just dreams. There are other symptoms. Other gifts from Mother Frost's touch. You'll feel cold differently now. Sometimes you won't feel it at all, even in winter, even in temperatures that should be dangerous. Other times you'll feel desperately cold in warm rooms, your teeth chattering, your body shaking, and no amount of heat will help because the cold is inside you, in the space where warmth used to be. You'll hear singing when there is none, in quiet moments, in crowds, just at the edge of hearing. Children's voices, high and sweet, singing that melody you can't forget, even though you're trying desperately to forget it. The song will get stuck in your head. You'll find yourself humming it without realizing. And people will ask where you learned it, and you won't be able to explain. You'll see the children sometimes. Not the girl who escorted you out. Others. Different ones each time. Always at a distance. Always at the edge of your vision. In crowds. In reflections. In photographs where they shouldn't be. Standing in the background of your life. Watching, waiting, smiling. And every Christmas Eve, you'll feel it. The pull, like a fishhook in your chest, attached to a line that stretches all the way back to that village in the snow. You'll feel the urge, no, the need, to go back to the forest, to find that clearing, to walk into Weihnachtsdorf and this time, stay forever. Most people resist, most. But the statistics are concerning. Dr. Chun's research, again, before she stopped, tracked 40 returners over 20 years. Of those 40, 12 went back to the forests where they'd originally disappeared. 7 of them never came back out. The other 5 were found wandering, frostbitten, raving about the village. And of the 28 who never physically returned, 14 reported increasing depression, anxiety, dissociation. 6 attempted suicide. 3 succeeded. The cold outside is killing them slowly. The warmth inside is already dead, and they're trapped between, unable to fully commit to either. You're in bed now, back in whatever counts as normal life. It's been 3 days since you visited Weihnachtsdorf. You've told no one. Who would believe you? What would you even say? I found a magical village that offers eternal warmth in exchange for eternal stasis. And I turned it down, and now I'm haunted by the memory of something I never actually experienced. So you stay silent, and you dream, and the cold gets deeper, and the song gets louder, and Mother Frost waits, patient as winter, knowing that time is on her side, because humans are fragile. Humans break. Humans get tired of fighting and suffering and changing and losing. Humans get cold. And when they're cold enough, long enough, deep enough, they'll walk into her arms voluntarily. They'll sing, they'll smile, they'll sleep deep and dream sweet and wake not. The girl was right. It's not a temptation. It's a mercy. Block 7 is where we learn about the song itself, what it does, why it works, and why you can't stop singing it. The song has a name, though no one knows who named it or when. Das Lied der Ewigen Winters, the song of eternal winter. It's been transcribed dozens of times since. Klaus Ebermann first heard it in 1688. Sheet music exists in archives across Europe. Folklorists have studied it. Musicologists have analyzed it. Neuroscientists have scanned the brains of people listening to it. And all of them come to the same uncomfortable conclusion. This song should not work. Let's talk about why music affects us. Basic neuroscience. Sound waves enter your ear, vibrate the cochlea, send electrical signals to your auditory cortex, which processes them as patterns. Certain patterns trigger emotional responses. Happy music activates reward centers. Sad music activates regions associated with grief and memory. Normal, predictable, well understood. Das Lied does something else entirely. In 2009, a researcher named Dr. James Morrison at the University of Edinburgh conducted an experiment. He played recordings of Das Lied to 50 volunteers while monitoring their brain activity via fMRI. The results were published in a paper titled Anomalous Neural Response to Folk Music Stimulus, published then immediately buried, because the university decided the findings were too controversial to disseminate without further verification. Dr. Morrison found that Das Lied activated parts of the brain that don't normally respond to music. The hypothalamus, which regulates body temperature. The hippocampus, where memories are stored. And this is the disturbing part. The anterior cingulate cortex, which is responsible for processing pain. Specifically, thermal pain. People listening to Das Lied reported feeling warmer. Measurably warmer. Their core body temperature increased by an average of 0.3 degrees Celsius. Their pain responses to cold stimuli decreased. And when asked to recall memories, they consistently reported memories associated with comfort, safety, childhood, moments when they felt most protected from the world. The song was literally making them warmer and making them remember warmth. But that's not the strangest part. The strangest part is what happened after the song ended. Volunteers reported feeling suddenly cold. Not room temperature cold, bone-deep cold. Their body temperatures dropped below baseline. They shivered. They requested blankets. Several complained of feeling hollow or empty. And when asked what they were thinking about, they all said variations of the same thing. I want to hear it again. Dr. Morrison's experiment was shut down after 3 weeks, officially because of ethical concerns regarding informed consent, unofficially because 7 of his 50 volunteers became obsessed with the song. They requested copies of the recording. They hummed it constantly. They reported dreams about snow and children and a woman with clear eyes. One volunteer, a 23-year-old graduate student named Sophie Chen, disappeared 3 weeks after the experiment ended. She was found 6 months later in the Scottish Highlands, suffering from severe hypothermia and frostbite. She'd been living in an abandoned cottage with no heat in the middle of winter. When asked why, she said she'd been waiting for the village to appear. She said she knew it was coming for her. She said she could hear the children singing, getting closer every night. Sophie Chun is in psychiatric care now. She still sings Das Lied every day, all day. The staff have learned to recognize it, to know when she's having an episode. She doesn't speak much anymore, except to say that she's cold, always cold, and that she made a mistake not staying when she had the chance. You're lying in bed now, 4 days after your visit to Weihnachtsdorf, and you're humming it. You don't even realize it first. The melody just emerges from somewhere deep in your chest, automatic as breathing. And when you do realize, when you stop yourself mid-note, the silence that follows feels wrong, incomplete, like you've interrupted something that desperately needs to finish. So you start again, and you can't stop. Let's talk about the structure of Das Lied, because structure matters. Music isn't just random notes, it's architecture. Patterns that build and resolve, tension that releases, expectation that fulfills or subverts. Most songs follow predictable patterns: verse, chorus, bridge, resolution. They give your brain what it expects or surprise it in ways that feel satisfying. Das Lied does neither. The melody is built on a 5-note scale, pentatonic, common in folk music across cultures. But the intervals between notes are slightly off. Not enough to sound obviously wrong, just enough to create dissonance that your brain tries to correct. You listen, and your mind keeps expecting the melody to resolve into something familiar, something right, but it never does. It circles and circles, always almost landing, never quite arriving. It's musical torture disguised as a lullaby. And the lyrics, the lyrics are worse. They're in Middle High German, which is why most modern listeners don't understand them immediately. But once translated, they're not quite words. They're more like ... instructions, a recipe, a ritual written as poetry. Here's a literal translation of the first verse. Sleep beneath the singing snow, count your heartbeats, let them slow. Every breath a little less, every warmth a small caress. Close your eyes and don't return. Let the winter kiss and burn. You are cold and we are warm. Join the song and take your form. It's not describing winter. It's describing hypothermia. The singing snow is auditory hallucination, a symptom of severe cold exposure. Count your heartbeats. Let them slow is bradycardia, your heart rate dropping as your body shuts down. Every breath a little less is respiratory depression. Winter kiss and burn is the paradoxical undressing phenomenon, where hypothermia victims feel suddenly hot and remove their clothes just before death. Das Lied is a step-by-step guide to freezing to death, and it makes you want to follow those steps. Because embedded in the melody, hidden in those almost right intervals, is something that triggers your brain's reward system. Listening to Das Lied releases dopamine, serotonin, endorphins, all the chemicals associated with pleasure, comfort, safety. Your brain thinks the song is good for you. Your brain thinks it's helping. Your brain is wrong, doctor. Morrison's final notes, written before the university confiscated his research, contained a hypothesis he never got to test. Das Lied may not be a song at all. It may be a vector, a delivery system for information that bypasses conscious processing. The melody carries meaning that the listener absorbs subliminally. What meaning? Possibly mimetic, a self-replicating idea virus. Possibly more. The song teaches you how to want to freeze. And once you've learned, you can't unlearn it. There are recordings of Das Lied online now. YouTube, Spotify, SoundCloud. Posted by users who claim to have collected them from historical archives or family recordings or dreams. I had that I transcribed. Most people who listen describe it as haunting or beautiful or the saddest thing I've ever heard. Some people listen and feel nothing. Others listen and can't stop. In online forums, Reddit, 4chan, specialized Discord servers for folklore enthusiasts, there's a growing community of people who call themselves listeners. They share recordings of Das Lied. They discuss variations and interpretations. They compare experiences. And slowly, steadily, they report the same progression. First, the song is just interesting. Weird, but compelling. Then it gets stuck in your head. You hum it without meaning to. Then, you start seeking it out actively. Playing it on repeat, learning the words even though you don't speak German. Then you start feeling cold when you're not listening to it, like the song has become a warmth you need, and its absence is hypothermia. Then you start seeing the children. Then you start dreaming about the village. Then you disappear. The moderators of these forums try to warn people. They pin post about Sophie Chun, about the returners, about the documented cases of obsession. They recommend people stop listening, delete the recordings, seek help. But the listeners keep listening. Because by the time you realize Das Lied is dangerous, it's already inside you, already rewriting your neural pathways, already teaching your brain that cold is comfort, that freezing is safety, that stopping is better than continuing. You're singing it right now. Out loud this time, not just humming. The German words flow even though you've never studied the language. They feel natural on your tongue, right? Like you've been singing them your whole life and only just remembered. Your roommate or partner or whoever shares your space knocks on the door, asks if you're okay, says you've been singing for an hour straight, the same melody over and over, and it's the middle of the night. Have you been singing for an hour? It felt like minutes. Time is getting slippery again, like it was in the forest, like it was in the village. Das Lied does that, distorts your sense of duration, makes hours feel like moments, makes moments stretch to eternity. It's part of how the song works, how it prepares you. Because if you're going to live in an eternal Christmas morning, you need to get comfortable with broken time. You try to stop singing, force your mouth closed, but the melody continues in your head, louder than before, insistent. And the silence of not singing feels like suffocation. Like holding your breath past the point of pain. Your chest aches with the effort of not letting the song out. So you open your mouth and you sing, and it feels like relief. This is what happened to Klaus Ebermann, according to his later journals. For months after his escape from Weihnachtsdorf, he couldn't stop singing Das Lied. He would wake his family at night, singing in his sleep. He would sing while working, while eating, while walking to market. People avoided him. Children were frightened of him. His wife begged him to stop. He couldn't. The song lives in me now, he wrote. It's not something I do. It's something I am. My heartbeat has learned its rhythm. My breathing follows its pace. I am becoming the song, or the song is becoming me, and I no longer know where I end and it begins. Klaus died in 1693, 5 years after his visit to the village. He was found frozen in the snow outside his home on Christmas Eve. His body was arranged in a strange position, arms spread, legs together, face turned upward, that his widow described as like he was trying to make himself into a cross or a tree or something meant to be looked at. There was no sign of struggle, no indication he'd been attacked or forced outside. He'd simply walked out into the winter night and let himself freeze. His mouth was open, as if he'd been singing. The historical records show a pattern. Of the 17 documented returners, Dr. Weiss studied, 11 died within 10 years of their return, 7 from hypothermia, 2 from drowning in winter rivers, 1 from wandering into a blizzard, 1 from simply stopping. She was found in her bed, not breathing, with no apparent cause of death except that her body had decided to quit. All of them died in winter. All of them died with smiles on their faces. And at least 6 of them were known to sing Das Lied compulsively in the days before their deaths. The song isn't just a song. It's a call, a beacon, a way for Mother Frost to stay connected to the ones who got away. Every time you sing it, you're sending a signal back to Weihnachtsdorf. I'm still here. I still remember. I'm still cold. And Mother Frost hears you. She's patient. She can wait. She knows that the song will do her work for her. slowly eroding your resistance, making the cold world feel colder, making the memory of warmth feel warmer, building the desire to return until it's no longer a temptation but a desperate need. The song is her leash, and you're already wearing it. You've stopped singing, finally, mercifully, but the melody continues in your head. Quieter now, but constant. Like tinnitus, like a heartbeat, like something that's always been there and always will be. You check your phone. It's 3:47 a.m. You have 32 missed calls. You've been singing for 4 hours. 4 hours that felt like 20 minutes. Time is breaking down. The song is rewriting how your brain processes duration, preparing you for eternity, teaching you how to live in a single endless moment. You should be terrified. Part of you is, but another part, a growing part, feels something else. Anticipation. Because the song promises something. Not in words, but in emotion, in sensation, in the way it makes your neurons fire. It promises that when you finally give in, when you finally return to the village and stay, the singing will stop feeling like compulsion. It'll feel like completion, like coming home, like being warm forever. And honestly, after 4 days of this, 4 days of dreams and cold, and seeing children in your peripheral, vision and singing until your voice is raw, the promise is starting to sound less like a threat and more like mercy, which is exactly what the song is designed to do. Block 8 is where we learn about the others, the ones who went looking for Weihnachtsdorf deliberately. Spoiler, some of them found it, and they never wanted to leave. Not everyone who finds Weihnachtsdorf stumbles upon it by accident. Some people go looking, deliberately, desperately, with full knowledge of what they're searching for and what it costs. They're called seekers in the folklore communities, though they call themselves something else, the finally warm. And their stories are somehow worse than those of the accidental visitors, because they prove something terrifying about human nature. Given the choice between painful life and comfortable death, many people will choose death, as long as you call it something else. It's been 6 days since your visit to the village. 6 days of singing. 6 days of dreams. 6 days of feeling colder than you've ever felt, even when you're sitting next to a heater, even when you're wearing 3 sweaters, even when the thermometer says it's 72 degrees in your apartment. The cold is inside you now, and nothing external can touch it. You're searching online. You tell yourself you're researching, trying to understand what happened to you. But really, you're looking for others. People who've experienced what you experienced. People who know about the song and the village and the choice. You find them. They're everywhere, once you know what to look for. Hidden in plain sight on forums about mythology, cryptids, unexplained phenomena. They don't advertise themselves. They use code words, references, the kind of language that means nothing to outsiders, but everything to those who know. Anyone else feeling the pull this winter? Daslead came to me in a dream last night. Clearest I've ever heard it. I think I found the place. The cold spot on the map. Planning a trip next week. If I don't come back, you'll know I finally got warm. The finally warm have a Discord server. Private. Invite only. You join by proving you've heard. Daslead, not from a recording, but from them. The children. The village itself. Prove you've been touched by Mother Frost, and they'll let you in. You prove it. You're welcomed. The server has 847 members. Most are lurkers. Some are active. A handful are what they call graduated, meaning they announced they were going to find Weihnachtsdorf and were never heard from again. The graduated have a special role in the server. Their names preserved in a pinned message like a memorial or a trophy case. It's hard to tell which. Reading through the chat history is like watching a slow-motion suicide pact. People share their research, maps of temperature anomalies, historical records of disappearances, GPS coordinates where the village has been spotted, recordings of Das Lied, not the academic versions, but raw audio captured by people who claim to have stood at the edge of the village and recorded the singing. Listening to these recordings is different from hearing the song in your head. More visceral, more real. You can hear the wind, the crunch of snow, the breathing of whoever's holding the recorder. And underneath it all, the children's voices. So clear, so perfect, so warm. People in the server discuss their preparation, what to bring, what to leave behind, how to make sure their bodies are found if something goes wrong, or more commonly, how to make sure their bodies are never found. Because going to Weihnachtsdorf isn't presented as disappearing. It's presented as transcending, graduating, becoming something better than human. One user, username Never Cold Again, posted this 3 months before graduating. I spent my whole life feeling like I don't fit. Like I'm too sensitive for this world, too soft, too broken. I've tried everything. Therapy, medication, religion, relationships, and nothing helps. I'm still cold, still lonely, still watching life happen to everyone else while I freeze on the sidelines. But Das Lied understands. Mother Frost understands. She's not trying to fix me. She's offering me a place where I don't need fixing. Where being frozen isn't the problem, it's the point. Where I can stop trying and just be. Why is that wrong? Why is choosing eternal peace worse than suffering through decades of meaningless pain? The responses are supportive, affirming. No one tries to talk Never Cold Again out of it. Instead, they share their own stories of not fitting in, of being too cold for the warm world, of waiting for permission to stop fighting. Never Cold Again graduated 2 weeks later. Posted a final message. I found it. I'm going in. If you're reading this, I'm home. That was in July. In July, Weihnachtsdorf appeared in summer. Because here's what the historical records don't make clear. What even Dr. Weiss's obsessive documentation misses. Weihnachtsdorf isn't limited to winter. It prefers winter. Cold makes the crossing easier, makes the offer more appealing. But it can appear anytime, anywhere, for anyone cold enough inside. And Never Cold Again was cold enough. There are patterns in the graduated. Demographics that emerge when you study the server long enough, which you do, because you can't stop, because understanding feels like protection, even though you know it's not. Most seekers are young, 18 to 35, the age when idealism crashes against reality and you realize the future won't save you. Most report mental health struggles, depression, anxiety, PTSD, dissociation. Not all, but enough to establish a trend. Many describe feeling disconnected from their bodies, from time, from the world. They use language like floating or watching myself from outside or not real. Almost all describe feeling cold, not metaphorically. Physically cold, constantly, despite normal temperatures, as if their thermoregulation is broken, as if something inside them is frozen and is spreading. They're not crazy, or they are, but their madness has a source. They've been touched by Mother Frost. Some in person, like you, some through the song, some through contact with other seekers who carry the cold like a contagion. They've been infected with winter, and now winter is eating them from the inside out. And instead of fighting it, they're surrendering to it. One user, Snowchild88, maintains a document titled Guidelines for Successful Seeking. It's been revised 43 times. It contains practical advice that's chilling in its casual tone. Before you go, write a note. Not about where you're going. They won't believe you anyway. It's something that gives closure. Say you're going hiking or traveling. Give them peace. Donate your belongings. You won't need them. Stop taking medication. Mother Frost prefers you unfiltered. Fast for 3 days before attempting to find the village. Emptiness helps. Listen to Das Lied on repeat. Let it guide you. It knows where to go. During your journey, go alone. Always alone. Others will try to stop you or call for help. Choose a cold day, but not too cold. You need to survive long enough to find it. Bring nothing warm. No jacket, no gloves, no heat packs. The cold is how you prove you're serious. When you see the children, follow them. Don't run. Don't question. Just follow. When you see Mother Frost, say yes. Don't hesitate. Don't negotiate. Just yes. What to expect. The transition feels like falling asleep. Gentle. Peaceful. You'll hear singing. So much singing. It's overwhelming at first, then comforting. Time will stop meaning anything. You won't notice. You won't care. You'll be warm. Finally, truly, eternally warm. You won't want to leave. That's not the village controlling you. That's you, finally free to want what you've always wanted, to stop. The document has been accessed 12,847 times. 43 people have graduated since it was posted. You're reading it at 4 a.m. and you're crying. And you don't know if you're crying because it's horrifying or because it's tempting. Because part of you, the part that's been growing since you visited the village, the part that sings Das Lied when you're trying to sleep, the part that feels bone-deep cold no matter what you do, reads those guidelines and thinks, that sounds nice. That sounds like relief. That sounds like finally being able to rest. The server has a voice chat that runs 24/7. It's usually quiet, but sometimes seekers join and just ... exist there, breathing, sometimes humming Das Lied together, sometimes discussing their plans, sometimes crying. You join. There are 7 other people online. No one speaks for several minutes. Then a voice, young, female, tired, says, "Is anyone else scared?" Silence. Then another voice, older, "Every day. But I'm more scared of staying." "Me too," says a third voice. "I'm so tired of being cold. I found a cold spot," says a fourth. 2 hours from my house. "I'm going tomorrow." "Good luck," someone whispers. "Come home," someone else says. They mean Weihnachtsdorf. That's home now, in their language. The warm place. The final place. The place where cold people go to stop being cold. You should leave the call. Close the server. Delete your account. Distance yourself from these people who are clearly suicidal, who are encouraging each other toward death, disguised as transcendence. But you don't leave. Because they understand. They're the only ones who understand what it's like to have been touched by something vast and cold and almost loving. To carry that touch inside you like a seed that's growing into something you can't control. To feel the pull every Christmas Eve, every winter night, every moment when the world feels too harsh and too real and too endlessly cold. They understand that Mother Frost's offer isn't evil. It's mercy, and mercy is what kills us. A new voice joins. "I graduated last year." Everyone goes silent. Graduated means gone. Graduated means they went to the village and never came back. Graduated means, "I'm a returner," the voice clarifies. "Mother Frost let me go. Said I wasn't ready. But I'm ready now. I'm going back." "What was it like?" someone asks. "Inside?" The voice takes a long time to answer. When it does, it sounds like they're crying, or smiling, or both. It was like being loved. Not romantic love or family love or friend love. Something bigger, universal. Like the universe itself was holding you and singing and promising you'd never hurt again. I know that sounds crazy. I know that sounds like cult talk. But I've spent a year trying to find that feeling in the real world, and it doesn't exist. Nothing out here comes close. We're all just pretending we're not cold, pretending we're not alone, pretending life is worth the suffering. But in the village, you don't have to pretend anymore. Someone asks, "Why did she let you go?" Because I was afraid, still holding on to something out here. Some hoped that things would get better, but they didn't. They won't. And now I'm ready to let go. When are you leaving? Tonight. There's a storm coming. Perfect conditions. I can feel the pull already. It's so strong. We'll sing for you, someone says, and they do. All of them. Right there in the voice chat. They sing dastardly together in perfect harmony, as if they've rehearsed. As if the song has taught them how to blend their voices without practice. As if they're already part of something larger than themselves. You sing too. You can't help it. And it feels like coming home. The returner, the one who's going back tonight, says quietly, "Thank you. I'll save you all a place." Then they disconnect. You'll never know if they made it. If they found Weihnachtsdorf again. If Mother Frost welcomed them home. If they're one now, finally, eternally. Or if they froze to death in a forest somewhere alone, chasing a hallucination. It amounts to the same thing. The voice chat continues. People talk about their lives, their regrets, their excitement for going home. They talk about Mother Frost like she's a friend, like she's family, like she's the only one who ever truly understood them. And maybe she does. Maybe that's the worst part. Maybe Mother Frost isn't lying. Maybe she does offer warmth. Maybe she does love the cold ones. Maybe the village is exactly what it promises. A place where suffering ends and comfort begins. Maybe the only horror is that we consider eternal comfort horrifying. Maybe we're the monsters for insisting people stay cold. It's 6 a.m. You've been in the voice chat for 2 hours. You haven't spoken, just listened, just sang when they sang. The sun is rising. You should sleep. You have work or school or whatever obligations define your normal life. But normal life feels increasingly theoretical. Distant, like it's happening to someone else, and you're just watching through their eyes. You're so cold. You've been cold for 6 days. You've been cold your whole life. You realize now. You just didn't have a word for it before. Didn't have a context. Didn't know that other people felt warm, felt comfortable in their bodies and their lives and their futures. You thought everyone was pretending. Turns out you were the only one pretending. Everyone else actually feels okay. And you never will. Unless Block 9 is where we learn what Mother Frost really is, and why she can't be stopped. Mother Frost has a name. Her real name. The name she had before she became whatever she is now. And learning it won't save you. But it will help you understand why salvation isn't coming. It's been 8 days since your visit. 8 days of singing. 8 days in the voice chat, listening to other seekers plan their journeys home. 8 days of watching the graduated count tick upward. 3 more people have announced their departures. None have returned to the server. You're cold all the time now. Your hands are blue. Your lips are purple. You wear 4 layers indoors and still shiver. A doctor would find nothing wrong with you. Your blood work would be normal. Your temperature normal. But you know better. The cold isn't in your body. It's in whatever space your body occupies. In the quantum foam between your atoms. In the gaps where warmth used to be. Mother Frost is eating you from the inside out. And you let her in. Let's talk about what she is. Dr. Weiss believed she was winter personified. An elemental force given consciousness. Dr. Morrison thought she was a mimetic entity. An idea so powerful it became real. Dr. Chun hypothesized she was a quantum phenomenon, somehow manipulating thermodynamics at a local level. They were all wrong and all correct. The truth was discovered in 2015 by a historian named Dr. Elena Volkov working in the Russian state archives. She wasn't even looking for information about Weihnachtsdorf. She was researching medieval European witch trials when she found a document, a confession extracted under torture in 1342 from a woman named Frida Winterhawk. Frida Winterhawk, winter breath. The confession is nightmarish. Frida was accused of witchcraft after the crops failed 3 years running and dozens of children died from cold-related illnesses. Under torture, she confessed to making pacts with demons, cursing the village, stealing the warmth from children's bodies. All standard witch trial stuff, except for one section that doesn't match the usual pattern. According to the transcript, Frida said, "I did not curse them. I loved them. They were cold, and I wanted to warm them, so I sang to them. I taught them the old songs, the songs my grandmother taught me, the songs from before Christ, from before Rome, from before warmth was free. The songs that called a cold home, and the cold came. It always comes when you sing correctly. It came, and it listened, and it learned what we wanted. We wanted never to be cold again. We wanted winter to stop hurting us. We wanted mercy." The interrogators asked what happened to the children. "They went into the cold," Frida said, "walked into winter and came back warm. Came back singing. Came back changed, better, safe, protected. I gave them what every mother wants for her children, a place where nothing hurts anymore." The interrogators asked where this place was. "Everywhere winter is," Frida said. "Nowhere winter isn't. It's not a place. It's a promise. And it keeps itself." Frida Winterhawk was burned at the stake on December 21st, 1342, the winter solstice, the darkest day of the year. 43 people came to watch her burn. 43. Records indicate the fire wouldn't catch at first. The wood was dry. The conditions were right, but the flames kept dying, as if something was smothering them. It took 6 attempts before the fire finally took hold. And when Frida burned, witnesses reported hearing singing. Not from Frida, she was silent throughout, but from somewhere else, everywhere else. Children's voices, high and sweet, singing a melody no one recognized. Dazzly de Ewigen Winters, the song of eternal winter. Sung for the first time, or sung again, or sung always, depending on how you understand time. After Frida died, the crops improved. The children stopped dying. Winter became survivable again. Everyone agreed the witch had been defeated. The curse lifted, God's mercy restored. But here's what the records don't emphasize, what Dr. Volkov only discovered by cross-referencing. In the year following Frida's execution, 43 children disappeared from villages across Central Europe. The exact number of people who watched her burn. They vanished on the same night, Christmas Eve, 1343, walked out of their homes into the snow and never returned. Search parties found nothing. No bodies, no tracks, no evidence except for one detail. In each village where a child vanished, people reported hearing singing in the distance. Children's voices. Impossible to locate. Coming from everywhere and nowhere. Singing the same song Frida had sung while burning. Doctor. Volkov's theory, published in an obscure academic journal and largely ignored, is this. Frida Winterhawk didn't create Mother Frost. She became Mother Frost, or rather, in dying, in burning, in experiencing the ultimate heat and the ultimate violation, something in Frida broke open. Some barrier between human and elemental shattered, and what emerged was neither alive nor dead, neither woman nor winter, but something that had characteristics of both. A consciousness made of cold. A love made of ending. A mother who protects by stopping. Mother Frost isn't hunting children. She's saving them. At least, that's how she sees it. That's how she's always seen it. Since 1342, since Frida Winterhawk decided that the only way to protect children from winter's cruelty was to merge them with winter itself. To make them cold enough, that cold couldn't hurt them anymore. It's the logic of hypothermia. The paradoxical moment when freezing feels like warmth, when death feels like relief, when giving up feels like victory. Frida understood that moment, lived in that moment. And when she died, she became that moment, eternal and infinite, and always offering itself to anyone cold enough to accept. Weihnachtsdorf isn't a place Mother Frost creates. It's a place Mother Frost is. Every building, every candy cane lamppost, every window full of light, they're all her. Manifestations of her consciousness. Projections of what she thinks cold children need. Warmth, safety, Christmas morning forever. She's not trapping them. She's embracing them. Holding them in a moment of perfect comfort so complete that time itself stops. Because that's what mothers do, in Frida's understanding. They protect. And the ultimate protection is stopping before anything bad can happen. Doctor. Volkov's paper was titled Thermodynamic Consciousness and the Phenomenology of Maternal Sacrifice. It argued that Mother Frost represents a new category of entity, not supernatural, but supernatural, operating by rules that are consistent with physics, but beyond human experience to fully comprehend. She suggested, carefully, academically, that Mother Frost might be communicable. That exposure to her, whether physical or mimetic, could create carriers. People who spread the cold simply by existing near others, who teach das Lied without meaning to, who make others susceptible to the pull. Dr. Volkov called it thermal empathy, the ability to feel others cold. And once you feel it, once you truly understand how cold everyone is, how much everyone suffers, how much warmth is just pretense and performance, well, Mother Frost's offer starts to sound less like evil and more like the only honest kindness in a dishonest world. Doctor. Volkov graduated in 2017. She announced it in the acknowledgement section of her final paper, disguised as dedication. To those who taught me to feel cold honestly, and to Mother Frost, who promises warmth truthfully. She disappeared during a research trip to Bavaria. Her rental car was found near a forest. Her laptop was in the car, open to a document with GPS coordinates and a single sentence. I'm going home. Finally, her body was never found. But 6 months later, a graduate student doing environmental surveys in the same forest reported finding strange structures. Ephemeral buildings that appeared during cold snaps and vanished when temperatures rose. And once, just once, they reported seeing people. Children, mostly, but also adults. All dressed in winter clothing from different eras. All standing in a circle. All singing. The student tried to approach. The structures vanished. The people vanished. But the singing continued, faint and distant, until the student ran back to their vehicle and drove away. They described one of the adults they'd seen. Tall, dark-haired, wearing modern clothing. Smiling. Looking peaceful. It matched Dr. Volkov's description exactly. She'd found what she was looking for. She'd gone home, and she was finally warm. You're reading all this in the server, in the channel dedicated to research and evidence. The seekers have compiled everything. Doctor. Weiss's papers, Dr. Morrison's experiment results, Dr. Volkov's final publications. They treat it like scripture, like proof that what they're planning isn't suicide but transcendence. And maybe they're right, because here's what none of the academic research admits, but all the seekers understand. Mother Frost isn't breaking the rules. She's using them. She's operating within physics, within biology, within neuroscience. She's not magic. She's mastery. She's learned how to weaponize thermodynamics, how to make cold feel like warmth, how to convince your biology that stopping is surviving. She's evolution in reverse, teaching us how to go back to the comfort of non-existence. And you can't fight evolution. You can only choose whether to participate. The voice chat is active. Someone's saying they've located a new cold spot. Someone else is sharing a recording they claim to have captured last night. Children singing, close enough to touch. Someone else is reading from Frida Winterhoch's confession, discussing what it means, what it teaches us about Mother Frost's intentions. They're not treating this like a horror story. They're treating it like a salvation narrative. And the worst part, the absolute worst part, is that you can't argue with them. Because you've been to the village. You've felt what it offers. You know that Mother Frost's warmth is real. The comfort is genuine. The peace is authentic. The only lie is that it's free. But nothing is free. Not even cold. Especially not cold. You check the weather. There's a storm coming. Big one. Temperature dropping below freezing for the first time this season. Perfect conditions. The seekers say, perfect for crossing. Perfect for going home. 3 people have announced they're attempting tonight. They've said their goodbyes, shared their coordinates, asked others to sing for them. And you realize, with a horror that's mixed with something like relief, that you're considering joining them. Not because you want to die, but because you want to stop being cold. And those aren't the same thing, are they? Block 10 is where we meet someone who escaped properly and learn what it costs to stay away. There's a woman living in Death Valley, California, who hasn't felt cold in 43 years. Not because she's immune, because she refuses to. Her name is Margaret Frost. No relation, she insists. Though you have to wonder. And she's the only documented case of someone who visited Weihnachtsdorf, left, and never went back. Not because she wasn't tempted, not because the pull went away, but because she decided, with absolute certainty, that warmth earned through stopping wasn't worth the price. She's 71 years old now. She looks 90. You find her through the server. Not the finally warm server. Margaret would never join that. But a smaller, quieter community called The Resistance. Only 37 members. Most of them returners like you. People who've been touched by Mother Frost and are desperately trying to stay human. Trying to stay warm through legitimate means. Trying to prove that you don't need eternal Christmas morning to survive winter. Margaret moderates. She doesn't post often. But when she does, her messages have the weight of someone who's fought a war and barely survived. Someone who knows exactly what they're up against and refuses to surrender anyway. Her last post from 3 weeks ago. Another storm coming. Another test. Remember, the cold is real, but Mother Frost's warmth is theft. You're borrowing from a future that never comes. Stay warm through motion, through choice, through the hard, painful, legitimate work of being alive. It's worth it. I promise it's worth it. Even when it doesn't feel like it. You reach out. Private message. Explain that you've been to the village. That you can't stop singing. That you're cold all the time. That you're considering going back. She responds within an hour. Come to Death Valley. I'll tell you how to fight. So you go. It takes 2 days to get there. 2 days of driving through increasingly warm landscapes while you shiver in your heated car. 2 days of singing Das Lied under your breath. 2 days of checking the finally warm server obsessively, reading updates from people who've graduated, from people who are planning to graduate, from people who are counting down the days until they're cold enough. The server announces 2 more successful crossings. Both people sent their final messages yesterday. Neither has returned online. The seekers celebrate. They made it home, someone writes. They're finally warm. You don't know if they're dead or transcendent. You suspect it amounts to the same thing. Death Valley in November is warm but not unbearable. 80s during the day, 50s at night. For most people, it's pleasant. For you who haven't felt warm in over a week, it's barely noticeable. You're still shivering when you meet Margaret at a diner in Furnace Creek. She's sitting in direct sunlight, wearing a heavy coat despite the heat. Her skin is deeply lined, prematurely aged. Her hands shake slightly, but her eyes are sharp, alert. The eyes of someone who's been fighting for decades and hasn't given up yet. You're colder than most, she says as you sit down. Not a question, an observation. How long since you visited? 10 days. She nods. The first month is hardest. The song is loudest. The pull is strongest. Most people who are going to graduate do it within the first 30 days. She signals the waitress, orders coffee for both of you. Black, hot, drink it. All of it. Even if it doesn't help. Especially if it doesn't help. Why? Because the cold wants you to give up. It wants you to accept that nothing will ever warm you again. So you fight that. You force warmth into yourself even when your body can't feel it. You remind your biology that warmth exists, that it's real, that it's worth pursuing. The coffee arrives. You drink it. She's right. You can't feel the heat, can't taste the bitterness. It's just liquid going down your throat, meaningless. But you drink it anyway, because Margaret is watching, because she's been doing this for 43 years, because maybe she knows something you don't. Tell me about your visit, Margaret says. So you do. Everything. The village. The children. Mother Frost. The choice you almost made. The girl who followed you out. The touch that planted something cold inside you. Margaret listens without interrupting. When you finish, she's quiet for a long time. Finally, 1981, December. I was 7 years old. She was one of the 43 children who disappeared that year. She was in the village for 6 months, subjective time. In the real world, only 2 weeks passed. But for Margaret, in Weihnachtsdorf, it was 6 months of singing, 6 months of warmth, 6 months of perfect, timeless, endless Christmas morning. Mother Frost loved me, Margaret says. Her voice is steady, but her hands shake harder. That's the thing people don't understand. She genuinely loved me. Loved all of us. That's what makes it so hard to leave. It's not coercion. It's not imprisonment. It's love. Real love. The kind that wants to protect you from everything, including time itself. Why did you leave? Because my mother came for me. Margaret's mother, a woman named Sarah Frost. And yes, the name thing is too coincidental not to mean something. Somehow found the village. Not accidentally. Not stumbling upon it. She hunted it. Studied the patterns. Followed the cold spots. Tracked the disappearances. And on a February night in 1981, she walked into Weihnachtsdorf deliberately. She came armed, Margaret says. Not with weapons, with warmth. She'd wrapped herself in heat packs, brought thermoses of hot soup, wore layers and layers. And she walked right up to Mother Frost and said, "Give me my daughter back." Mother Frost said no, not cruelly, not angrily, but firmly. "Your daughter is happy here, warm here, safe here. Why would I send her back to a world that will only hurt her?" And Margaret's mother said, "Because hurt is part of being alive. And I'd rather my daughter be alive and hurting than preserved and perfect. Give her back." They argued. For hours, according to Margaret's memory. Not violently, almost philosophically. A debate about what love means. Whether protecting someone from all harm is love or imprisonment. Whether comfort at the cost of growth is mercy or murder. "I was watching," Margaret says, "listening, and I realized something. Mother Frost couldn't answer my mother's central question. What comes after warmth? If you're warm forever, if you're happy forever, if nothing ever changes or grows or hurts? What comes after that? And Mother Frost had no answer, because there is no after. There's just eternal now, and that's not life. That's embalming. Margaret chose to leave. Mother Frost let her go. Not happily, not easily. But she let her go because Mother Frost, for all her power, can't force you to stay, can only make you want to. And Margaret, at 7 years old, decided she'd rather grow up than stay warm. The cold came back immediately, Margaret says. The moment I crossed back into the real world, I felt winter again. Really felt it after 6 months of not feeling it. It was agony. Like being burned alive. I screamed. I cried. I begged my mother to let me go back. She held me and told me it would get better. That warmth was possible in the real world too. That it just took work. Did it get better? Margaret's smile is sad, exhausted, honest. No, not really. I'm still cold. Every day, every hour. The village planted something in me that never left, but I'm alive. I'm growing. I'm changing. I've had relationships and heartbreak and career and failure and all the messy, painful, beautiful things that make up a human life. And yes, I'm colder than I would have been if I'd never gone to Weihnachtsdorf. But I'm also more complicated. More real. More human. She drinks her coffee. Mother Frost offers you perfection. But perfection is death by another name. The only things that are perfect are things that have stopped changing. Corpses are perfect. Preserved moments are perfect. And 7-year-olds singing forever are perfect. But they're not alive. Not really. How do you fight it, you ask? The pull. The song. The cold. You don't fight the cold, Margaret says. You accept it. You stop trying to make it go away. Because it won't go away. Mother Frost made sure of that when she touched you. The cold is permanent now. But you can choose what you do with it. You can surrender to it and let it freeze you into eternal stasis. Or you can use it. Let it sharpen you. Let it remind you what warmth means. Let it make every warm moment more precious because you know how rare it is. She leans forward. The seekers are wrong. They think Mother Frost is offering escape from suffering. But she's not. She's offering escape from feeling, from growth, from time. And yes, feeling hurts. Growth hurts. Time hurts. But they're also the only things that make life worth living. You can't have joy without the capacity for sorrow. You can't have warmth without the capacity for cold. Mother Frost offers you one-sided existence. I'm offering you the whole goddamn thing. What if I'm too cold already? You ask. What if I've gone too far? You haven't, Margaret says firmly. If you'd gone too far, you wouldn't be here. You'd be in the forest already, following the footprints. The fact that you're asking how to fight means you still have fight in you. So fight. She reaches into her bag and pulls out a journal. Old, worn, filled with handwriting. This is 43 years of fighting. Every technique I've learned. Every strategy that works. Every day I chose warmth the hard way instead of warmth the easy way. I want you to read it. All of it. And then I want you to start your own. You take the journal. It's warm from being in her bag. Or maybe that's your imagination. Maybe your hands are so cold that everything feels warm by comparison. The most important thing, Margaret says, is this. Mother Frost will always be there. The pull never stops. Every winter. Every Christmas Eve. Every moment when life gets too hard. She'd be there, offering warmth, offering rest, offering the end disguised as peace. And you'll be tempted. Every time. But temptation isn't sign. Acting on temptation is. You can feel the pull and not follow it. You can sing Das Lied and still choose not to go home. How? By finding legitimate warmth. Not borrowed warmth. Not stolen warmth. Real warmth. Built from human connection, from purpose, from movement, from the grinding, exhausting work of staying alive. It's not as pure as Mother Frost's warmth. It's not as perfect, but it's yours. And it's real. And it doesn't cost you everything that comes after. Margaret stands. You realize the conversation is over. But before she leaves, she says one more thing. In 1981, 43 children were taken by Weihnachtsdorf. I was the only one who came back. The other 42 are still there. Still 7 years old. Still singing. Still perfectly, eternally warm. And sometimes I wonder if they made the right choice and I made the wrong one. Because I've suffered so much in 43 years. I've been cold and lonely and heartbroken and disappointed. I've lived through pain they'll never experience. And for what? So I can die eventually anyway? So I can suffer for decades before ending up in the same place they're already at. Stopped? Finished? Done? She looks at you with eyes that have asked this question 10,000 times and still don't have a comfortable answer. But then I remember, I've also loved. I've also laughed. I've also created. I've also changed and grown and become someone I couldn't have imagined at 7. I've been alive, messily and painfully and gloriously. And maybe that's not worth it to everyone. Maybe some people genuinely prefer eternal warmth over temporary meaning. But it's worth it to me. And it can be worth it to you. If you choose it. Every day. Every hour. Every moment when the song gets loud and the pull gets strong. You have to choose. Margaret leaves. You sit in the diner for another hour. Drinking coffee you can't taste. Feeling the sun you can't feel. Reading her journal. It's 43 years of fighting written in hand that gets shakier each year. Lists of techniques. Exercise until you sweat, even if you can't feel warm. Surround yourself with people, even when connection feels impossible. Create things. Build things. Make things that prove you're still moving forward. Take hot baths and drink hot tea and wear warm clothes not because they work, but because the ritual matters. The trying matters. The refusal to surrender matters. And on every Christmas Eve for 43 years, the same entry. I'm still here. Still fold. Still fighting. Still alive. Mother Frost called today. I said no. Again. Still no. Always no. 43 years of saying no. 43 years of choosing the hard warmth over the easy warmth. 43 years of being colder than everyone around her, but refusing to let that coldness define her. You check your phone. The finally warm server is active. Another person has announced they're graduating tonight. They found a cold spot in Minnesota. They're prepared. They're ready. They're going home. The seekers are encouraging them, celebrating them, singing Das Lied together in the voice chat to give them strength for the crossing. You could join them. You could drive north instead of staying in Death Valley. You could find your own cold spot. You could walk into winter and let Mother Frost welcome you home. You could be warm, finally. Eternally, you could stop fighting. Or you could do what Margaret has done for 43 years. You could say no, again. Still no, always no. It's the hardest choice you've ever made. And you'll have to make it again tomorrow. And the day after that. And every Christmas Eve for the rest of your life. Block 11 is where we learn about the children who are still singing. And what they remember about being human. There's a recording. You shouldn't listen to it. Margaret specifically warned you not to. But it's in her journal. A URL scribbled in margins gone yellow with age. And curiosity is a disease you caught along with the cold. The recording is from 1994. An audio researcher named Thomas Pine. No connection to the seekers. Just an academic with the wrong kind of curiosity managed to capture 4 hours of continuous singing from what he believed was Weihnachtsdorf. He set up equipment at the edge of a cold spot in Norway during a particularly severe winter and recorded. What he caught should be impossible. It's been 12 days since your visit to the village. 12 days of saying no. 12 days of drinking scalding coffee and taking burning showers and forcing yourself to move, to eat, to engage with the world, even though everything feels distant and theoretical and cold. Margaret calls every morning, not to check on you, just to exist with you. Sometimes you talk. Sometimes you both sit in silence on opposite ends of the phone line. Two people who've been touched by Mother Frost, who carry winter inside them, who are choosing to stay human anyway. It helps. Not enough. But some. You listen to the recording at 3 a.m. wearing headphones, lying in a bathtub full of water so hot it should be painful, but isn't because you can't feel temperature correctly anymore. The recording starts with wind. Harsh. Arctic. The sound of a storm that shouldn't have survivors. Then, cutting through the wind like light through darkness, the singing begins. Children's voices. Dozens of them. Hundreds. They're singing Das Lied, but not like you've heard it before. This version is layered. Complex. Harmonies that weave in and out of each other, creating patterns your ears can barely track. It's beautiful. It's the most beautiful thing you've ever heard. And then, between the verses, you hear something else. Voices speaking. Just fragments. Phrases. Like the children are taking breaks from singing to remember something, to say something before the song pulls them back. Mama made pancakes on Sunday, ... double quotes. ... my dog was named. Barley ... wanted to be a doctor when I ... years old. I'm 7 years old. I'm 7 years old. They're remembering. Remembering. The children in Weihnachtsdorf aren't mindless, aren't erased. They still have memories of before, of being human, of the lives they left behind when they chose warmth over time, and they're trying to hold on to those memories, even as the song erases them, even as Mother Frost's eternal warmth smooths away the rough edges that make them individuals. The recording continues. More fragments. ... scared of the dark, but Mother said ... croat. ... Christmas morning and presents and ... cold. So cold. Until ... How long have we been singing? I don't single quotes, T ... double quotes. I don't know. The children in Weihnachtsdorf have been singing for decades, for centuries, some of them. But time doesn't pass normally there. They're all still 7 years old, still in the moment of perfect warmth, still Christmas morning forever. But some part of them knows. Some part remembers that this isn't normal. That 7-year-olds are supposed to become 8-year-olds. That Christmas morning is supposed to end. That nothing is supposed to last forever except the things that are dead, and they're singing to forget. Das Lied isn't just what they sing. It's why they sing. The song is a spell of forgetting. A lullaby that erases everything except the eternal now. The more they sing, the less they remember. The less they remember, the easier it is to stay. The easier it is to stay, the more they sing. It's a perfect loop, and Mother Frost designed it that way. Thomas Pine's notes, included with the recording, describe what happened after he packed up his equipment. He made it 3 miles from the cold spot before he had to stop. The singing was still in his head, not as memory, as presence, as if the children had followed him home. He drove back to his hotel. The singing continued. He tried to sleep. Couldn't. The children's voices were too loud, too insistent. So he started writing down what he heard. transcribing the fragments, trying to piece together who these children had been before they became permanent. He filled 17 notebooks in 3 days. Names, ages, hometowns, favorite foods, pet names, parents' names, fears and dreams, and the mundane details that make a person. All of it emerging from the spaces between the singing, like information leaking from a database that was supposed to be erased, but wasn't quite. Thomas Pine identified 12 of the children, matched their fragments to historical missing person reports, confirmed they were real. Real children who disappeared in the 1800s, the 1900s, the 1950s, the 1980s, all accounted for in Weihnachtsdorf's roster. All still singing, all still 7. Thomas Pine killed himself on day 4. His suicide note contained no words, just the first 3 bars of Das Lied, written over and over, filling 16 pages front and back. And at the bottom, in handwriting that barely resembled his own, they're still in there, still human, still trapped, and I can't save them. No one can save them. They're in heaven and it's hell, and they chose it and they'll never leave, and I can hear them. I can hear them. I can't stop hearing them. The recording is 47 minutes long. You listen to all of it. Then you listen again and again, because buried in the singing, in the fragments, you hear something specific. A voice saying, "If someone finds this, if someone's listening, please know we're still here. We're still us. We're just also the song now. And it's warm, and it's wonderful, and it's wrong. And we can't leave even though part of us wants to. Part of us remembers that life was supposed to be more than this. Supposed to be growth and change and pain and becoming. But the song is so loud, and the warmth is so complete, and Mother loves us, and we're tired of fighting, and it's easier to just sing and sing and sing, and forget and be warm forever, even if forever means never becoming who we were supposed to." And the singing swallows the voice again, back into harmony, back into Das Lied, back into the eternal loop of forgetting. You're crying in the bathtub, and you don't know if you're crying for the children, or for yourself, or for everyone who's ever been cold enough to consider Mother Frost's offer. You call Margaret. It's 4 a.m., but she answers immediately, like she never sleeps. Maybe she doesn't. Maybe fighting the pull for 43 years means you can't risk the vulnerability of unconsciousness. I listen to the Pine recording. You say, "I told you not to." I know. I had to. Margaret, they're still in there. Still human. Still suffering. I know. Can't we save them? Can't we? No. Margaret's voice is gentle but absolute. We can't. They chose. Maybe not fully informed choice. Maybe coerced by their own coldness. But they chose. And Mother Frost won't let them go unless they want to leave. And they don't want to leave. The song makes sure they don't want to leave. So we just leave them there? Singing forever? We leave them to their choice, Margaret says. Just like they have to leave us to ours. That's the thing about Mother Frost. She's not a villain. She's an option. A legitimate option that some people genuinely prefer. And we have to respect that even if we think it's wrong. Even if it breaks our hearts. That's not fair. No, Margaret agrees. It's not. But fair is a human concept. Mother Frost operates beyond fair. She just is. Like winter. Like cold. Like the choice between comfort and growth. You sit in silence for a long time. The bathwater is cold now. You can't feel it, but you know it must be. Because you've been sitting here for over an hour and no water stays hot that long. Margaret, you say finally. What if they're right? What if the children in the village are actually happier than we are? What if we're the ones suffering unnecessarily? What if we're choosing pain for no good reason? Then we're fools, Margaret says. Beautiful, brave, human fools. And I'd rather be that than perfect and preserved and singing the same song forever. She pauses. But you're right to ask. You should ask. Every day. Every time the pull gets strong. Because the moment you stop questioning whether your choice is right, you've already stopped growing. You've already become a little bit like them. A little bit frozen. How do you do it? You ask. 43 years. How do you keep saying no when yes would be so much easier? I think about my mother, Margaret says. About how she walked into winter to bring me home. How she chose me, messy and mortal and temporary, over me perfect and preserved. And I think, if she loved me enough to want me growing and hurting and changing, then I owe it to her to keep growing and hurting and changing, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard, because that's what love actually is. Not protection from all suffering, but faith that suffering can be worth it. You get out of the bathtub, dry off. The mirror is fogged. You can't see your reflection. Maybe that's better. You don't want to see what 12 days of fighting Mother Frost has done to your face. You check the finally warm server. The person who graduated last night has been confirmed. Someone in their real-world network reported them missing. Search parties are being organized. The seekers are celebrating quietly, careful not to draw too much attention. They made it, someone writes. They're home, and maybe they are. Maybe they're in Weihnachtsdorf right now, singing with the other children, warm and happy and protected from everything that makes life painful. Maybe they're at peace. Or maybe they're like the voices on Thomas Pine's recording, still human enough to know what they've lost, still individual enough to feel the wrongness of perfection, but too deep in the song to remember how to leave, too warm to choose cold again, trapped in paradise, which is just another word for hell. You open a new document on your laptop, start writing, not because Margaret told you to, though she did, but because you need to record this, need to make sense of it, need to prove to yourself that you're still here, still changing, still capable of creating something new instead of repeating the same song forever. You write, Day 12, still cold, still fighting. Margaret says it gets easier. Margaret also says she's been fighting for 43 years. Which suggests it doesn't actually get easier, just more familiar. Listen to the Pine recording. Heard the children remembering. They're still in there, still human, still suffering in ways they can't fully articulate because the song keeps erasing the words they need. And I could join them. One choice. One trip north. One walk into winter, and I'd be warm and safe and preserved and done. But I won't, not today. Not because I'm strong, because I'm stubborn. Because somewhere, somehow, a woman named Sarah Frost loved her daughter enough to demand her back from paradise. And if that kind of love is possible, then maybe the hard warmth is worth it after all. You save the document. You'll write another entry tomorrow, and the day after, and every day for as long as you can keep saying no. It's not a solution, but it's a start. Block 12 is where we learn what happens when you try to destroy Weihnachtsdorf. Spoiler, you can't kill winter. Someone tried to burn the village in 1889. It went exactly as badly as you'd expect. You're 16 days in now. 16 days of fighting. 16 days of Margaret's phone calls and scalding coffee and the desperate, exhausting work of staying human. The cold hasn't gotten better. If anything, it's gotten worse. You're wearing 6 layers indoors. Your fingers are always numb. Your lips are permanently blue. But you're still here. Still writing in your journal every day. Still saying no. The finally warm server has gained 43 new members in the past week. The number feels significant, deliberate, like Mother Frost is replenishing her flock, maintaining the sacred number, the same 43 children who always were and always will be. 3 more have graduated. The resistance server, Margaret's Space, the tiny community of people fighting back, has gained no one. It's still just 37 members. Most of them silent, most of them struggling alone. You've read their sparse posts, their journals, their strategies for staying warm the hard way. None of them sound optimistic. All of them sound determined. There's a difference. Today, Margaret sends you a file. No context, just read this. You need to know what happens when people try to fight back the wrong way. The file is a scanned document from 1889. A report written by a German constable named Friedrich Wagner, describing an incident that officially never happened. A man named Victor Eisler lost his daughter to Weihnachtsdorf in December 1888. Her name was Sophia. She was 7 years old. She walked into a snowstorm on Christmas Eve and never came home. Victor didn't grieve. He hunted. He spent 6 months tracking reports, interviewing witnesses, studying the patterns. He read Klaus Ebermann's account. He found Father Hartmann's journal. He located every scrap of information about the village and its behavior. And he came to a simple conclusion. If Weihnachtsdorf was real, it could be destroyed. Victor Eisler was a practical man, a blacksmith by trade. He didn't believe in magic or curses or eternal winter made conscious. He believed the village was a physical place, built by someone for some purpose, and physical places could be burned. So, he prepared. He gathered supplies, kerosene, accelerants, tools, weapons. He recruited 7 other men who'd lost children to the village. Men angry enough and desperate enough to follow him into winter to commit arson against an impossible target. They found the village in June 1889. Midsummer. No snow. Temperatures in the 70s. But they found it anyway, because Victor had studied the patterns, had learned to recognize the cold spots that marked Weihnachtsdorf's hunting grounds. And there, in the middle of a warm forest, surrounded by green trees and singing birds, was the village. Candy-colored houses, impossible architecture, snow on the ground in defiance of season, children playing in the square, and Mother Frost standing at the church, watching Victor and his men approach with eyes that were clear and knowing and sad. "You can't have her back," Victor said. According to Wagner's report, these were his first words. Not a question, a statement. He'd already accepted that Sophia was lost. Now he wanted revenge. "No," Mother Frost agreed. "She's home now. She's warm. She's safe. Why would I return her to a world that only offers suffering?" "Then I'll burn you all," Victor said. "I'll burn this place to ash. I'll erase you and everyone you've stolen." Mother Frost smiled. Sad, gentle. The way you smile at a child who doesn't understand. Try. So they did. They soaked the buildings in kerosene. They lit torches. They set fire to the houses, the church, the candy cane lampposts. The flames caught. The village burned. And the children laughed. Not scared laughter. Not panicked. Delighted. Like the fire was part of the game. Part of the eternal Christmas morning. They danced around the flames, singing Das Lied, while Mother Frost watched from the center of the square, her white dress untouched by smoke, her clear eyes reflecting firelight. The village burned for 6 hours. Victor and his men watched. Fed the fires. Made sure every structure was consumed. By sunset, there was nothing left but ash and blackened earth. The men were celebrating, crying, embracing. They'd done it. They'd destroyed the village. They'd avenged their children. And then it started snowing, in June, in Germany. In the middle of a summer evening, the snow fell thick and fast. Within minutes, the ash was covered. Within an hour, the landscape was white again. And through the snow, emerging like ghosts, the buildings reappeared. First the church, then the houses, then the fountain, then the lampposts. Identical to before. Candy-colored. Impossible. Perfect. And the children walked out of the snow, still singing, still smiling, still 7 years old, as if nothing had happened. Mother Frost spoke. You can't burn winter, Victor. You can't kill cold. I'm not a place. I'm a season. I'm a state. I'm the absence of warmth made conscious. Destroy my form, and I'll just take a new one. Erase this village, and I'll build another. Kill these children, and they'll just become the song itself. You can't win. You can only choose whether to join us or keep suffering alone. Victor screamed, attacked Mother Frost with his bare hands, hit her with fists that should have broken bone but passed through her like she was made of mist. Cold mist that froze his hands instantly. He pulled back, staring at his blackened fingers, and Mother Frost looked at him with something like pity. You're so cold, Victor. You've been cold since Sophia left. Since before that, probably. Since you were a child yourself. The world made you cold, and you never learned how to be warm. That's why Sophia came to me. She inherited your cold, and I saved her from it. I can save you too. Never, Victor said. His voice was weak. The cold from Mother Frost's touch was spreading up his arms into his chest. Then die out there, Mother Frost said. Die cold and alone and angry. Or die here, warm and loved and at peace. Your choice. Victor chose to die out there. He and his men fled the village, made it back to civilization. Victor's hands never recovered. The frostbite spread despite treatment, despite summer weather. His fingers turned black, then fell off. The cold kept spreading. Within a month, he was dead. The official cause was gangrene, but Wagner's report notes that Victor's body was frozen solid when they found him. In July, in a room that was 80 degrees. He'd frozen from the inside out. Of the 7 men who'd accompanied Victor, 5 died within the year. Same symptoms, progressive cold. Frostbite in summer. Bodies that couldn't retain heat no matter what they did. 2 survived, but both reported the same affliction you have, permanent, uncurable coldness. The sensation that winter has moved into your bones and set up residence. One of those survivors wrote a letter, included in Wagner's file. We tried to fight winter and winter won. That's all. It always wins. You can't defeat the cold by attacking it. You can only survive it by staying warm. And we forgot how to stay warm. We let our anger freeze us. We let our grief become frostbite. And now we're exactly what we tried to destroy. Walking dead men, preserved by cold, waiting to stop. You finish reading the file and sit in silence. Your hands are shaking. Not from cold, though you're always cold now, but from understanding. You can't fight Mother Frost. She's not an enemy you can defeat. She's a force, a state of being. An option that exists permanently, waiting for anyone cold enough to choose her. Fighting her directly doesn't work. Attacking her doesn't work. She's not vulnerable to violence or fire or human rage. She's vulnerable only to one thing. The choice to stay warm anyway. That's why Margaret has survived 43 years. Not by fighting Mother Frost, but by refusing her. Not with violence, but with stubbornness. Not by trying to destroy the option, but by choosing the alternative over and over, every day, even when it hurts. You text Margaret. Read the Eisler file. I understand now. She responds immediately. Good. Most people try to fight. All of them lose. You can't kill winter. You can only outlast it. How long does winter last? Forever. Winter lasts forever. But spring comes anyway. That's the paradox. That's what we're counting on. You don't fully understand what she means, but you're starting to. The Finally Warm server is discussing the Eisler incident. They frame it differently than you do. To them, Victor was a cautionary tale. A man so consumed by grief and rage that he couldn't see the mercy Mother Frost offered. A man who chose suffering over surrender. A man who died badly when he could have died beautifully. Don't be like Victor. Someone writes, don't fight the inevitable. Don't rage against the cold. Accept it. Welcome it. Let it transform you into something that doesn't hurt anymore. The message gets 43 upvotes. Another seeker posts, I've located a cold spot 3 miles from my apartment. I can feel the pull. It's so strong tonight. I think this is it. I think I'm ready. The responses are immediate, supportive, celebratory. Go home. Be warm. We'll sing for you. And they do. The voice chat fills with people singing Das Lied. 20 voices. 30. More. All in perfect harmony, as if they've been practicing together for years, even though most of them have never met. The song swells and fills and becomes something more than music. Becomes a beacon, a summoning, a collective prayer to Mother Frost. Please take another one of us. Please prove that warmth is possible. Please show us the way home. You should leave the server, should block it, should protect yourself from the temptation. But you don't, because on some level, you need to know they're there. Need to know that if you get too cold, if the fight becomes too much, if saying no stops being possible, there's a place that will welcome you. A community that will celebrate your surrender. A mother who will embrace you and promise you'll never hurt again. You need to know the exit exists, even if you're choosing not to take it yet. You open your journal. Right. Day 16. Someone tried to burn Weihnachtsdorf in 1889. It didn't work. You can't fight Mother Frost with violence. Can't defeat her with rage. She's not a monster. She's an option. And options can't be killed, only declined. Victor Eisler learned that the hard way. Died frozen in summer because he let his anger become frostbite. I won't make that mistake. I won't fight her. I'll just keep saying no. Not because I'm strong enough to resist. Because I'm stubborn enough to refuse. There's a difference. Resistance implies you might win. Refusal implies you might lose, but you're doing it anyway. Margaret called tonight. Asked how I was doing. I lied. Said I was fine. She knew I was lying. Said, good. Said lying to yourself is practice for lying to Mother Frost. Said every time you pretend you're okay when you're not, you're training your brain to reject easy comfort in favor of hard truth. Said fake it till you make it isn't just a platitude. It's a survival strategy. The finally warm server announced another graduation. That makes 6 this week. 6 people who decided the hard warmth wasn't worth it. 6 people who chose Mother Frost, and I can't judge them. I can't say they're wrong, because I've been to the village. I know what she offers. And on the worst days, on the days when the cold is so deep I can barely move, when the song is so loud I can't think, when the pull is so strong I can barely breathe, I understand why they went, but I'm still here, still cold, still refusing. Still writing this stupid journal like words on a page can save me from winter. Maybe they can. Maybe that's all we have. Words and stubbornness and the insistence that meaning exists even when comfort doesn't. Maybe that's enough. It has to be enough. You save the entry. Close the laptop. The apartment is silent except for the heater running constantly, uselessly burning electricity to produce warmth you can't feel. Outside, the first snow of the season is falling. You watch it through the window. Thick flakes. Beautiful. Peaceful. Each one unique. Each one temporary. Each one melting the moment it touches something warmer than itself. And you think, that's what we are. Temporary warmth in an eternal cold. Melting constantly. Losing heat constantly. Fighting entropy constantly. And the fight is exhausting, and the outcome is predetermined, and eventually we all stop being warm. But there's something beautiful about melting on your own terms instead of being preserved forever. Something human about choosing the temporary over the eternal. Something worth it about suffering through winter after winter instead of stopping in one perfect frozen Christmas morning. Or maybe you're just telling yourself that because the alternative is too tempting and you're too scared to admit you want it. You don't know. You won't know. That's the price of staying human. Uncertainty. The children in Weihnachtsdorf don't have uncertainty. They have perfect knowledge that they're warm, safe, loved, home. They have the comfort of unchanging truth. You have doubt, and you're choosing doubt anyway, because doubt means you're still asking questions, still growing, still capable of change, still alive. Your phone buzzes. Margaret, still there? You text back, still here. Good. Tomorrow will be harder. Why? Because every day is harder. That's how time works. You get more tired, more worn down, more tempted. The fight doesn't get easier. You just get better at losing. That's not encouraging. It's not meant to be encouraging. It's meant to be true. You don't need encouragement. You need honesty. And the honest truth is that fighting Mother Frost for the rest of your life will be the hardest thing you ever do. Harder than any real accomplishment. Harder than any real success. Because you're fighting for the right to keep struggling. The reward for winning is more fighting. That's all. No prize. No relief. Just the privilege of continuing to be cold and mortal and temporary. Then why do it? Because the alternative is stopping. And I'm not ready to stop. Not yet. Maybe not ever. Ask me again in 43 years. You smile despite everything. Despite the cold. Despite the exhaustion. Despite the song playing constantly in your head. I will. You text back. I'll ask you in 43 years. Good, Margaret says. That's a reason to stay alive. Making promises you're too stubborn to break. She's right. Spite is as good a reason as any. Better than most. You're going to survive winter out of sheer stubborn refusal to give Mother Frost the satisfaction. You're going to say no for 43 years. Then 43 more. Then however many it takes until your body naturally stops at the end of a full human life, cold and imperfect and gloriously, messily complete. Or you'll fail. You'll give in. You'll graduate. But not today. Today you said no. Tomorrow you'll try to say it again. Block 13 is where we learn what happens to the families left behind, and why some of them follow their children into the snow. Sarah Frost, Margaret's mother, the woman who walked into Weihnachtsdorf and demanded her daughter back, died in 2003. Natural causes. Old age. She was 74. But Margaret told you something about her mother that isn't in any official record. Something that changes the story. Something that makes the choice harder. Sarah heard the singing too. Every day for the rest of her life, after she'd retrieved Margaret, Sarah Frost heard Das Lied. Not as loud as Margaret heard it. Not as constant, but there. Always there. A background hum. A reminder. An invitation. Mother Frost had touched her too. Not intentionally. Not as punishment. Just ... contamination. The way you can't walk through winter without carrying some of the cold with you. Sarah had spent hours in Weihnachtsdorf, arguing with Mother Frost, and in that time, something had transferred. Some seed of winter. Some trace of the eternal. For 22 years, Sarah Frost lived with that cold. She never told Margaret, never complained, never admitted that she was suffering the same way her daughter was. She just lived, worked, raised Margaret, smiled through the cold, pretended warmth. And every Christmas Eve, like clockwork, Sarah would lock herself in her bedroom from midnight to 1 a.m. and cry. sob, scream into pillows. Because that's when the pull was strongest for her, when Mother Frost's voice was loudest, when the offer of eternal rest became almost impossible to refuse. Margaret didn't learn about this until after her mother's death, when she found Sarah's journals. 22 years of entries, 22 years of fighting, 22 years of the same daily mantra. I will not follow. I will not follow. I will not follow. I saved my daughter so she could live, and I will not dishonor that by choosing death. I will not follow. I will not follow. I will not follow. Sarah never graduated. She died in her sleep, peacefully, having earned every one of her 74 years the hard way. But in her final journal entry, written the day before she died, Sarah wrote, I'm tired, so tired, and I still hear them singing. After all these years, but Margaret is grown now. She doesn't need me anymore. And maybe, just maybe after I'm gone, I can finally rest. Finally be warm. Finally stop fighting. Not in Weihnachtsdorf. I won't go there. I promised. But maybe wherever we go after death is warm too. Maybe I've earned warmth the hard way. Maybe I don't have to steal it. You're 19 days into your fight now. 19 days of saying no. And you're starting to understand something that terrifies you. This doesn't end. Mother Frost doesn't let go just because you refuse her. The cold doesn't leave just because you choose warmth. The song doesn't fade just because you stop singing. You're infected, permanently, and the infection spreads. Margaret warned you about this. Said you needed to be careful who you spent time with, who you touched, who you loved. Because the cold is contagious. Not through physical contact, through emotional connection. People who love you can catch it. You've been avoiding your family since you got back. Making excuses. Claiming you're busy, sick, traveling. Anything to stay away. Because you can feel it now. The cold radiating off you like heat from a furnace, except the opposite. People who stand close to you for too long start shivering. Start rubbing their arms. Start commenting on the temperature. You're a walking cold spot. And the longer you fight Mother Frost, the worse it gets. The finally warm server has a channel called Legacy. It's where seekers discuss what happens to their families after they graduate. The messages there are haunting. My mom keeps calling. Says she feels cold since I left. Says she has dreams about snow. I didn't mean to give it to her. I just loved her too much. My wife is hearing the song. She doesn't know what it is. Thinks it's tinnitus. But I know. I gave her the cold. And now she's going to have to fight it like I did. Or not fight it. And that's worse. To anyone reading this after I'm gone, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for everyone I made cold just by existing near them. I'm sorry for spreading winter like a disease. I'm sorry I couldn't stay warm enough to keep you safe. Go somewhere sunny. Forget me. Don't follow. But they do follow. The statistics are brutal. According to Dr. Chun's research, before she graduated herself, approximately 30% of people who lose family members to Weihnachtsdorf report experiencing symptoms of secondary exposure within a year. Cold sensitivity, temperature dysregulation, hearing singing, seeing children and peripheral vision, the pull. And of that 30%, about half will eventually follow their loved ones into the snow. Not immediately. Not dramatically. Just gradually. Year by year. Christmas Eve after Christmas Eve. The pull getting stronger. The cold getting deeper. Until one winter they realize they're not fighting anymore. They're just waiting. Waiting to go home to wherever their child, their spouse, their sibling went. Waiting to finally be warm. There's a famous case from 1967. A woman named Catherine Moore lost her son to Weihnachtsdorf on Christmas Eve. His name was Daniel. He was 7 years old. He walked out into a snowstorm and never came back. Catherine spent 5 years searching for him, investigating, reading everything she could find. She discovered the pattern, the cold spots, the singing. She even found the forest where Daniel had disappeared. She didn't find the village, but the village found her. One Christmas Eve, 5 years after Daniel vanished, Catherine heard his voice, not in her head. Actually heard it, clear as if he was standing next to her, calling her name, asking her to come play in the snow. She followed the voice. Her husband found her 3 hours later, standing at the edge of the forest, barefoot in the snow, smiling, hypothermic but still alive. When he brought her home, wrapped her in blankets, called for medical help, Catherine kept saying the same thing. He's there. He's really there. He's warm. He's happy. He's been waiting for me. Catherine survived that night, but she was changed, never quite the same. She would stand at windows during winter, staring out. She would hum Das Lied without realizing it. She would talk about Daniel as if he was still alive, still just in the next room, still coming home any minute. Her husband tried everything: therapy, medication, moving to Florida. Nothing helped. Catherine was stuck in that moment, standing at the edge of the forest, hearing her son call her name. On Christmas Eve, 1972, 7 years after Daniel disappeared, exactly, Catherine walked out of her Florida home at midnight. It was 68 degrees. Clear sky, no snow. She froze to death anyway. Her body was found Christmas morning, curled in the fetal position on her lawn. Core temperature, 15 degrees Celsius. Impossible, the coroner said. You can't freeze to death in Florida. You can't freeze to death in 60-degree weather. But Catherine had, because the cold wasn't outside. It was inside. It had been growing there for 7 years, planted by love and loss and the unbearable knowledge that her child was somewhere singing, somewhere warm, somewhere she couldn't reach him. And Mother Frost had finally called in the debt. You think about this late at night, when the cold is worst, about what you're risking by staying alive, by staying infected, by carrying winter inside you while still interacting with the world. Who are you going to make cold? Your family? Your friends? Some stranger who stands too close to you in an elevator and suddenly feels a chill they can't explain? How far does the contagion spread? Margaret says it's manageable. Says you just have to be careful. Limit exposure. Keep people at arm's length emotionally, if not physically. Don't let anyone love you too much. Don't love anyone too much in return. Stay isolated. Stay cold, but that's not living. That's just surviving. That's just being alone until you die naturally instead of supernaturally. And you start to understand why so many seekers choose to graduate quickly. Not just because they're cold, but because they don't want to spread the cold, don't want to infect the people they love, don't want to turn their parents into Catherine Moore, their children into Margaret, their spouses into Sarah Frost. Better to go cleanly, go quickly, go before you make anyone else fight your fight. The Resistance server has a thread about this, about the ethics of staying. Most of it is people arguing with themselves. No clear answers. Just guilt and determination wrestling in real time. One post from someone called Still Warm 42. I've isolated myself from everyone I love. Haven't seen my family in 3 years. Can't risk it. Can't risk giving them this. But I'm so lonely, and the loneliness makes me colder. And the colder I get, the more I pull toward Weihnachtsdorf. So by protecting them, I'm killing myself. And I don't know which is worse. Margaret's response. There is no good answer, only less bad ones. Stay alive, even if it means staying alone. Because the moment you graduate, everyone who loved you becomes a carrier anyway. They'll grieve. They'll search for answers. They'll find the stories. They'll hear the song. And then they'll have the cold too, plus the knowledge that you chose to leave them. At least if you stay, even isolated, they have hope. Hope that someday you'll come back. Hope that keeps them fighting. Don't take that away from them. It's brutal logic. But it's the logic that's kept Margaret alive for 43 years. And it's the logic that killed Sarah Frost slowly instead of quickly. There's no winning here. No strategy that doesn't hurt. No choice that doesn't cost. You can only choose which cost you're willing to pay. You write in your journal, Day 19. Learned about Sarah Frost today. About how saving Margaret cost her 22 years of fighting the same cold. About how love itself is the vector. About how caring about someone who's been touched by Mother Frost means catching some of the winter yourself. I'm a weapon now. A biological hazard. A carrier of something that spreads through connection. I should isolate. Should push everyone away. Should protect them. But Margaret says isolation feeds the cold. Says humans need warmth from other humans to survive. Says cutting yourself off is surrender by another name. So I don't know. Stay and risk infecting others. Leave and definitely succumb myself. Die quickly and traumatize everyone. Die slowly and make them watch. There are no good options. Only endurance. Only the stubborn insistence that struggling is better than stopping, even when it objectively isn't. I miss warmth. I miss feeling okay. I miss the version of myself that existed before Weihnachtsdorf. That person is gone. Dead. Replaced by someone who carries winter inside them and spreads it to everyone they touch. And I have to live with that. Or die with that. Either way, it's my burden now. You close the journal. Your phone shows 17 missed calls from your mother. You haven't answered. Can't answer. What would you say? Sorry I've been avoiding you, Mom. It's just that I visited a magical village made of eternal Christmas. Got infected with supernatural cold. And now I'm radioactive with winter. I might contaminate you if we spend too much time together. She wouldn't understand. No one understands except the people who've been there. And most of those people have graduated. You're about to turn off your phone when it rings. Margaret, you answer. Bad night? She asks. How did you know? Because I've had the same bad night approximately 15,000 times. It's the night you realize what you've become, what you're risking by staying alive, what you're costing the people who love you. Did your mom ever regret saving you? Margaret is quiet for a long time. I asked her that once. Near the end, she said no. Said she'd make the same choice every time. Said watching me suffer was better than losing me to perfection. Said she'd carry winter for 1,000 years if it meant I got to live. That's not fair to her. No, Margaret agrees. It's not, but love isn't fair. Love is choosing someone else's suffering over your own comfort, over and over, until you die. That's what love actually is, and Mother Frost can't offer that. Can't compete with that, because her love is preservation. And real love is risking everything for someone else's chance to grow. You're crying. You don't know when you started. I don't want to hurt anyone, you say. Too late, Margaret says gently. You already have. The moment you came back, you made everyone who loves you carriers. They're fighting now too, whether they know it or not. And you can't save them from that. You can only honor their fight by not giving up on yours. That's not enough. It's all we have. You sit in silence together. Two people cold enough to understand each other. Cold enough to know that warmth stolen is worthless and warmth earned is excruciating, and both are preferable to never feeling anything again. Finally, Margaret says, "Call your mother. She's worried, and she deserves to hear your voice, even if you can't explain why you sound different. Why you sound cold. She'd fight for you anyway. That's what mothers do. Like Sarah fought for you. Like Sarah fought for me. For 22 years. Until she died. Still fighting. Still refusing to follow. still choosing me over comfort. I don't deserve that. None of us do. That's the point. That's what makes it love. Margaret hangs up. You stare at your phone. 17 missed calls. You call back. Your mother answers on the first ring. Where have you been? She asks. Not angry, worried. You sound different. Are you sick? I'm cold, you say. The truth, for once. I'm so cold, Mom. Come home, she says. I'll make soup. I'll turn up the heat. It won't help. You interrupt. But thank you. Thank you for offering. You talk for an hour. About nothing. About everything. She tells you about her week, her garden, the weather. You tell her edited versions of your life. Lies by omission. Protection by distance. And with every minute of conversation, you feel it. The cold spreading. Seeping through the phone line like frost on glass. Touching her. Infecting her. Making her part of your fight whether she chose it or not. When you hang up, you feel colder than ever. But also warmer, because for an hour, you weren't alone. For an hour, someone loved you despite the winter you carry. And that's worth the risk. That has to be worth the risk. Block 14 is where we learn what happens on Christmas Eve, the day when everyone who's ever been touched has to choose again. It's December 23rd. You have 27 days of fighting behind you. 27 days of saying no. 27 days of journal entries and scalding coffee and Margaret's phone calls and the exhausting, endless work of staying human. Tomorrow is Christmas Eve, the day when everyone fights hardest. The day when Mother Frost calls loudest. The day when more people graduate than all other days combined. Margaret hasn't called today. That's unusual. She calls every morning at 7 a.m. like clockwork, just to confirm you're still here, still breathing, still refusing. But this morning, silence. You check the resistance server. Her last post was 2 days ago. Christmas Eve approaches. If you're reading this, you're still fighting. Good. Keep fighting. I'll talk to you on the 26th. The 24th and 25th, I'll be unavailable. You understand why. You understand. Christmas Eve is personal for Margaret. It's the anniversary of her mother walking into Weihnachtsdorf to save her. The anniversary of her choice to leave. The anniversary of 43 years of fighting. And it's the day when the pull is so strong that even Margaret, 43 years of practice, 43 years of saying no, has to isolate completely, lock herself away, turn off her phone, remove all means of leaving her house. Because on Christmas Eve, every person who's been touched by Mother Frost hears the call simultaneously, and most of them answer. The finally warm server is electric with anticipation. 73 people have announced they're attempting to graduate tomorrow night. 73. All at once. All coordinated. All supporting each other. They've created a shared playlist of Das Lied recordings. 8 hours long. For continuous play during the crossing, someone explains. So we're all singing together, even if we're miles apart. They've shared maps. Cold spot locations across North America, Europe, Asia, coordinates, directions, meeting places for those who want to cross together. They've written goodbye messages to family members, scheduled to post automatically if they don't return online by December 26th. They're prepared. They're ready. They're excited. One post from someone called Finally Home. I've been cold my whole life. 34 years of pretending I'm okay. Pretending I fit. Pretending warmth is possible through normal means. But it's not. Not for people like us. We're broken. We're cold in ways that no human warmth can fix. And that's okay. That's not failure. That's just reality. And tomorrow night, reality stops mattering. Tomorrow night, I go somewhere that accepts cold as the natural state. Somewhere that doesn't ask me to fake warmth I don't feel. Somewhere I can finally stop pretending. Thank you all for understanding. Thank you for singing with me. I'll save you a spot in the warmth. 412 upvotes. 307 comments, all supportive. 0 people trying to talk them out of it. Because everyone on that server understands. Everyone on that server is fighting the same fight. And on Christmas Eve, some people decide they've fought long enough. You check the weather. Snow forecast for tomorrow night. Heavy. The first major storm of the season. Temperature dropping to 15 degrees Fahrenheit. Perfect conditions. Exactly what Mother Frost likes. Exactly when the village appears most clearly. You're terrified. Not of dying, not even of freezing, but of choosing. Because for 27 days you've been making the same choice over and over. Stay, fight, refuse. But on Christmas Eve, the choice becomes harder. The pull becomes undeniable. And you're not sure if 27 days of practice is enough. Margaret survived 43 Christmas Eves. Sarah survived 22. How many can you survive? You spend December 23rd preparing. Following Margaret's protocol, which she'd outlined in one of her rare detailed posts. Christmas Eve Survival Guide, from someone who's done this 43 times and counting before the 24th. Stock up on warm drinks. Hot chocolate, coffee, tea, soup, more than you think you'll need. Prepare hot baths, multiple. You'll want to stay submerged as much as possible. Remove all winter clothing from your house. No coats, no gloves, no scarves. Anything that makes going outside easier, get rid of it. Delete all recordings of Das Lied from your devices. You'll hear it anyway, but don't make it easier. Block the finally warm server, just for 24 hours. Don't watch other people graduate. Don't let their surrender weaken your resolve. Call someone you love. Remind yourself why staying human matters. Write a letter to yourself explaining why you're fighting. You'll forget on the 24th. You'll need the reminder. During the 24th, do not leave your house under any circumstances. Lock the doors. Hide the keys. Stay warm constantly. Fire, heaters, bath. Don't let yourself get cold even for a moment. Do not sleep. The dreams on Christmas Eve are especially vivid, especially tempting. Stay awake. Play loud music. Anything that's not Das Lied. Drown out the singing in your head. Write constantly. Journal. Letters, stories. Anything that keeps your hands moving and your mind engaged. Call people, even if you can't explain why. Just hear human voices. Remember, you're not alone. Expect hallucinations. You'll see the children. You'll see Mother Frost. They're not real. Probably. Ignore them. Expect the cold to get worse. Much worse. It'll feel like you're dying. You're not. It's just Mother Frost calling harder. Around midnight, the pull becomes almost irresistible. This is the peak. If you can survive midnight to 1 a.m., you can survive the whole night. At 1 a.m., the call fades. Not completely. Never completely. But enough. You'll have survived another year. After the 25th, rest. You'll be exhausted. That's normal. Check in with other survivors. Confirm they made it. Celebrate together. Grieve for those who didn't make it. Don't judge them. Don't blame them. Just grieve. Start preparing for next year. You follow the checklist. Remove your winter coat. Stock the fridge with soup. Fill the bathtub. Set up your laptop with a playlist of music that isn't Das Lied, though you have to search carefully, because somehow half your saved music has been corrupted with that melody, like a virus spreading through your digital life. You write a letter to yourself. Dear future me, if you're reading this, it's Christmas Eve, and you're considering leaving. You're cold. You're tired. You're listening to the children sing and Mother Frost call and you're thinking maybe it's time to stop fighting. Don't. I know you don't remember why you're fighting. The pull erases memory, erases purpose, makes everything except warmth seem meaningless. But trust me, trust past you. You have reasons. Good reasons. You're fighting for Margaret, who's been doing this for 43 years. Who proves it's possible? You're fighting for Sarah, who gave 22 years of her life to save her daughter, who chose your suffering over your perfection. You're fighting for your mother, who doesn't understand why you're different now but loves you anyway, who will carry some of your cold and never complain. You're fighting for everyone who can't fight, everyone who graduated, everyone who's singing in Weihnachtsdorf right now, preserved and perfect and stopped. You're fighting to prove there's another way, a harder way, a colder way, but a way that ends in natural death instead of eternal stasis. You're fighting because being alive hurts, and hurting means you're still alive. Stay. Please. Stay one more day. Then one more after that. Then one more after that. One day you'll die naturally, and this will be over. But not today. Not on Christmas Eve. Not because Mother Frost called and you were too tired to say no. Stay. Love. Past UP's Margaret's number is in your phone. Call her on the 26th. Tell her you made it. She'd be relieved. She worries about you. You seal the letter in an envelope. Write, "Open Christmas Eve midnight" on it. Put it somewhere visible. Then you wait. December 24th arrives like an execution date. The day is wrong from the start. You wake up at 4 a.m., though you don't remember falling asleep covered in frost. Actual frost. On your skin, in your hair. Your breath comes out in clouds despite the heater running. The temperature in your apartment is 75 degrees, but you're shivering so hard your teeth clatter. The singing starts at dawn. Not in your head. Outside. Actually outside. You look out the window and see them. Children. Standing in the parking lot. 7 years old. Wearing red coats and mittens. Standing in a circle. Singing. They're not real. They can't be real. It's a hallucination. Margaret warned you about this. But they look so real. And they're looking up at you. Smiling. Waving. Inviting you down. You close the curtains. The singing continues. You make coffee. Burn your hands on the pot, or you think you do. The pain is distant, theoretical, and don't care. Pour 3 cups. Drink them in succession. Feel nothing. The heat doesn't reach. It's like pouring water into a bottomless well. 8 a.m. You should call Margaret. But she said she'd be unavailable. Fighting her own battle. You're alone in this. 9 a.m. The children are in your hallway. You can hear them giggling, playing. You open your door to prove they're not there. They are there. 7 of them. Red coats, blonde hair, bright eyes, smiling. Come play with us, one says. You slam the door. Lock it. Barricade it with furniture. The giggling continues on the other side. 10 a.m. You try to eat. Can't. Your body is too cold. Everything tastes like ice. 11 a.m. The bathtub. You fill it as hot as you can stand. Climb in. The water should be burning. It feels lukewarm. You stay in anyway. Add more hot water when it cools. Stay submerged. Shivering in water that's literally steaming. Noon. Your phone rings. Unknown number. You answer anyway. Mother Frost's voice. You're suffering. You don't have to suffer. Come home. Come be warm. You hang up. It rings again immediately. You turn off the phone. 1 p.m. The music isn't working. You can hear Das Lied underneath it. Over it. Through it. The children's voices are harmonizing with your playlist, turning everything into the song. You turn off the music. The singing is louder in silence. 2 p.m. You write in your journal, but your hands are shaking too hard. The words are illegible. You write anyway. Proof you're still moving. Still fighting. Still here. 3 p.m. Someone knocks on your door. You ignore it. The knocking continues. Gentle, patient, eternal. 4 p.m. The sun is setting. You've been in the bath for 5 hours. Your skin is wrinkled. The water is cold now. You can't generate heat fast enough to keep it warm. You get out. Towel off. Your skin is blue. 5 p.m. Dark now. The longest night of the year. Well, technically that was yesterday, the solstice, but it feels like tonight is longer. Feels like tonight will never end. 6 p.m. You turn your phone back on. One message from Margaret, sent hours ago. Still fighting. You better be too. You text back. Still here. No response. She's deep in her own battle. 7 p.m. The children are inside your apartment now. You don't know how. The door is still locked. But they're here anyway, sitting on your couch, playing with toys that weren't there before, singing softly. We're waiting for you, one says. You ignore them. Make more coffee. Spill most of it because your hands won't stop shaking. 8 p.m. You try to read, to watch something, to distract yourself. But everything feels distant, unreal, like you're watching your life through thick glass. The only thing that feels real is the cold. 9 p.m. The pull is getting stronger. It's not subtle anymore. It's a physical sensation, like hooks in your chest, dragging you toward the door, toward outside, toward the snow that's falling thick and fast now. You barricade yourself in the bathroom, smallest room, easiest to defend. You run another bath, climb in, lock the door from inside. 10 p.m. The walls are frosting over. The mirror is covered in ice crystals that form patterns, geometric, beautiful, wrong. The patterns spell words. Come home. Be warm. Stop fighting. We miss you. You close your eyes. Don't look at the walls. 11 p.m. Almost midnight. Almost the peak. You're not going to make it. You can feel it. 27 days of fighting. 27 days of saying no. And it's not enough. It will never be enough. Mother Frost is patient, and you're exhausted, and eventually, exhaustion wins. You climb out of the bath, dry off. The children are standing in the doorway, even though the door is locked, even though they shouldn't be able to be here. It's time, one says. Mother is waiting. You take a step toward them. Then you see the envelope, the letter you wrote to yourself. It's on the bathroom counter somehow. You don't remember bringing it in here, but it's here. Open Christmas Eve midnight. It's 11:47. Close enough. You open it. Read your own words. Your own reasons. Your own plea to stay. And you remember. Not everything. Not clearly. But enough. You're not just fighting for yourself. You're fighting for everyone who can't fight. Everyone who's been touched. Everyone who'll be touched. You're proving it's possible. Proving that Mother Frost can be refused. Proving that stolen warmth isn't the only option. You look at the children. No, you say your voice is weak. Barely audible, but it's there. The children's smiles falter. No, you say again. Louder. Not today. Not ever. I'm staying. 11:52 p.m. The children begin to fade, not disappearing, but becoming translucent, less real, less solid. You'll be back, one whispers. Everyone comes back eventually. Maybe, you admit, but not tonight. 11:57 p.m. The hooks in your chest are agony now. Pulling, tearing, demanding. You grip the edge of the sink so hard, your knuckles turn whiter than they already are. Your whole body is shaking. You're crying. You're screaming. But you're staying. 11:59 p.m. Mother Frost appears. Not in your bathroom. But you can see her anyway, somehow, standing in the snow outside your building, looking up at your window. Her clear eyes find yours through walls and distance. She doesn't speak, doesn't need to. Her expression says everything. I'm here. I'm always here. When you're ready, I'll be waiting. And you will be ready. Maybe not tonight. Maybe not this year. But someday, everyone gets cold enough eventually. Midnight. The pole reaches its peak. It feels like dying. Like your chest is caving in. Like every atom of your being is trying to fly apart and reassemble somewhere else. Somewhere warm. Somewhere safe. Somewhere Mother Frost is waiting with open arms. You hold on. 12:01 a.m. The pole begins to fade. Not gone, never gone, but less tolerable, survivable. 12:05 a.m. The children are gone. The frost on the walls is melting. Mother Frost has vanished from the parking lot. 12:15 a.m. You collapse on the bathroom floor. Still alive. Still human. Still cold. Still here. You made it. You survived Christmas Eve. You lie there for an hour, too exhausted to move. Then you crawl to your bedroom. Collapse on the bed. Sleep for 12 hours straight without dreaming. When you wake up, it's December 25th, Christmas morning. The day that's eternal in Weihnachtsdorf, but just another day here. You check your phone. 23 messages in the resistance server. People confirming they survived. People asking if anyone's heard from others. People grieving those who didn't make it. Margaret's message. Day 44. Still here. Still cold. Still refusing. Reporting. You type, Day 28. Made it. Barely. But I made it. Her response is immediate. Good. Rest today. Fight again tomorrow. You check the finally warm server. Even though you blocked it, you unblock it now. Need to know. 47 people graduated last night, not 73. Not everyone who'd planned to go. But 47 people who decided midnight on Christmas Eve was the right time to stop fighting. Their goodbye messages have auto-posted. Their families are waking up to find them gone. Search parties will be organized. Police reports will be filed. Bodies might be found frozen in forests, or they might not be found at all. And in Weihnachtsdorf, 47 new voices have joined the eternal singing. You don't judge them. You can't judge them, because you almost joined them. You write in your journal, Day 28, survived Christmas Eve. I don't know how. I don't know why. I should have given up. The pull was so strong. Mother Frost was so present. The children were so convincing. But I stayed. I read my own letter and remembered why I'm fighting and stayed. 47 people didn't stay. 47 people decided they'd fought long enough. And maybe they were right. Maybe I'm the one who's wrong. Maybe stubbornly refusing comfort is stupidity, not strength. But I'm still here. Still cold. Still alive. Margaret says rest today. She's right. I'm so tired. Tired in ways that sleep won't fix. Tired in ways that might never be fixed. But tomorrow I'll fight again. Day 29. Then day 30. Then one day at a time until my body naturally stops instead of stopping by choice. That's all I have. That's all any of us have. One more day. One more no. One more refusal. Until we can't anymore. You close the journal. Call your mother. She answers immediately. Merry Christmas, sweetheart. Are you okay? You sound ... different. I'm okay. You lie. Just tired. Long night. Come visit. I made too much food. Your favorite. I can't. You interrupt. Not today. Soon. But not today. Because you're still contagious. Still radioactive with winter. And she doesn't need to catch any more of your cold than she already has. Promise? She asks. Promise. You mean it. You'll visit. When you're stronger. When you've learned to carry the cold without spreading it so aggressively. When you figured out how to be human and infected and functional all at once. If that's possible, it has to be possible. Margaret has been doing it for 43 years. You can do it too. You spend Christmas Day doing nothing, resting, recovering, feeling the cold settle back into its baseline level, still there, still constant, but no longer acute. No longer trying to tear you apart. You survived. 28 days of fighting culminated in the hardest night of your life. And you survived. That has to count for something. That has to mean something. You text Margaret. Thank you. She responds. You did it yourself. I just reminded you it was possible. Next year will be harder. Why? Because you'll remember how hard this was. You'll spend all year dreading it. The anticipation is worse than the event, but you'll survive that too, because you're stubborn. Like me. Is that enough? Being stubborn? It's all I've got, Margaret says. It's all you've got. It's all any of us have. Stubbornness and spite and the refusal to give Mother Frost the satisfaction. That's a terrible reason to stay alive. But it works. She's right. It works, not elegantly. Not beautifully, but it works. And working is enough. Block 15 is where we learn how this story ends. Spoiler, it doesn't. But that's the point. Here's the truth about fighting Mother Frost. There is no end, no final victory. No moment when you've fought long enough and the cold goes away. No graduation from the fight. Just the fight itself, endless and exhausting and eternal. Until you die. That's the only ending available. You die naturally, having earned every cold year the hard way. Or you die supernaturally, choosing eternal warmth over temporary meaning. Those are your options. And you have to choose, every day, which death you prefer. It's been 90 days since you visited Weihnachtsdorf. 3 months of fighting. 3 months of saying no. 3 months of journal entries and phone calls with Margaret, and watching people graduate in the finally warm server, and wondering if they made the right choice. You're still here, still cold, still refusing. It hasn't gotten easier. Margaret was right about that. Every day is harder than the last, because every day you're more tired, more worn down, more tempted. The cold is constant. The song never stops. The pull never fades completely, but you're learning to live with it, learning to function while infected, learning to carry winter inside you without letting it freeze you solid, learning to be cold and human and alive all at once. It's not a good life, but it's a life. And that's more than the children in Weihnachtsdorf have. The finally warm server has grown. 1,200 members now. Every week, more people discover the stories. More people hear the song. More people report feeling cold in ways that have no medical explanation. Mother Frost's reach is expanding. Or maybe she's not expanding. Maybe she's always been this widespread, and we're just noticing now. Maybe the internet has made visible what used to be isolated. Maybe there have always been thousands of people touched by eternal winter, but they suffered alone, not knowing others existed. Now we know. Now we can find each other, for better or worse. The graduated count is at 284 since you joined. 284 people who decided the fight wasn't worth it, who chose Mother Frost, who walked into snow and never came back. Their families grieve. Police investigate. Bodies are sometimes found, frozen in impossible ways. Most disappearances remain unsolved. And Weihnachtsdorf grows. More children singing. More voices in the eternal chorus. More Christmas mornings preserved in amber. The resistance server hasn't grown at all. Still 37 members. Most silent. Most fighting alone. Occasionally someone posts, Day 200, still here. Or, Day 1000, still cold. Still refusing. Margaret posts every morning. Day number. Still fighting. She's at day 15,695 now. 43 years. You can't imagine surviving that long. Can't imagine saying number 15,695 times. Can't imagine carrying this cold for 4 more decades. But you don't have to imagine 43 years. You just have to survive today. Then tomorrow. Then the day after. That's the secret Margaret won't say out loud but shows in every action. You can't think long term when fighting Mother Frost. You can only think now. This moment. This choice. This no. String enough nows together and eventually you've lived a life. Cold. Difficult. Far from ideal. But yours. You've started meeting with other resistance members. In person. Carefully. In warm places, coffee shops, heated restaurants, anywhere that might offset the cold you all carry. There are 7 of you in your area, all touched, all fighting. Ages ranging from 19 to 68. The 68-year-old, a man named Robert, has been fighting for 30 years. Since before the internet. Before he knew others existed. I thought I was insane. He says over coffee that none of you can taste. Hearing children sing, feeling cold in summer, dreaming of snow. I tried medication, therapy. Nothing worked. But I kept living anyway, because what else do you do? What else do you do? That's the question, isn't it? When comfort is available but wrong, when relief is offered but costs everything, when warmth exists but only through surrender, what else do you do except keep living the hard way? Robert has buried 3 friends who graduated. I don't judge them, he says. I understand why they went. Some days I understand too well, but I'm still here. Partly stubbornness, partly spite, mostly because I promised my daughter I wouldn't give up. She doesn't know what I'm fighting, just that I'm fighting something, and she believes I'm strong enough to win. But you can't win, someone says. No, Robert agrees. I can't, but I can survive. And survival is its own victory. The group meets weekly. You drink coffee and share strategies and remind each other that you're not alone. That the cold is real. That the fight is worth it. Mostly you just exist together. 7 people who carry winter. 7 people who understand. It helps. Not enough, but some. You've gone back to work, to school, to whatever approximation of normal life you can manage. People notice you're different, quieter, colder, always wearing sweaters, always holding hot drinks, always seeming slightly distant, like you're listening to something they can't hear. They ask if you're okay. You say yes. They don't believe you. But they stop asking eventually. Your mother visits. You tried to avoid it, but she insisted. She stays for 3 days. And you watch, horrified, as she starts exhibiting symptoms, shivering in warm rooms, complaining of feeling cold, humming a melody she doesn't recognize. Das Lied. You gave it to her. Just by existing near her. Just by being her child. Just by loving her and being loved. On her last day, she says, "Something's different about you. I don't know what. But I want you to know whatever you're going through, whatever you're fighting, I'm fighting it with you. Okay? You're not alone." You cry when she leaves, because she's right. She is fighting with you. You've infected her, made her a carrier, given her your cold, and she doesn't even know. You call Margaret. Tell her what happened. I know, she says. It happens to everyone. You can't love people without sharing the cold. It's the price of connection. That's not fair. No, but it's real. And you can either isolate completely, which will kill you eventually, or accept that love means sharing burdens. Even burdens the other person doesn't know they're carrying. She's going to suffer because of me. She's going to suffer because she loves you. That's different. She chose to love you. That means she chose to carry whatever you carry. You don't get to make that choice for her. Margaret's right. As usual, you hate it, but you accept it. It's March now. Spring is coming. The snow is melting. Temperatures are rising. And you're still cold. You'll always be cold. That's permanent. But the pull is quieter in spring, easier to resist. You can almost forget about Weihnachtsdorf for hours at a time. Almost feel normal. Almost convince yourself you're okay. Then Christmas Eve will come again, and you'll have to fight all over again for the rest of your life. Every Christmas Eve until you die naturally or give up. Margaret turned 71 this year. She survived 43 Christmas Eves. She says 44 will be harder than 43. 45 harder than 44. It never gets easier. You just get more practice at enduring. She also says she's proud of you, that you've made it 90 days, that most people don't make it 30, that you might actually survive this. Might? There are no guarantees, Margaret says. I could graduate tomorrow. You could graduate tomorrow. We're all one bad day away from deciding we fought enough. But we haven't had that bad day yet. And maybe we won't. Maybe we'll die naturally, cold and stubborn and victorious. Or maybe we won't. But today, we're still here. And that's enough. Is it enough? You don't know. But it has to be. Because it's all you have. You write in your journal. Day 90. 3 months. A quarter, a year. I survived a quarter of a year infected with winter. The finally warm server announced 10 more graduations this week. The resistant server is silent except for Margaret's daily updates. I'm still here. Still cold. Still fighting. I don't know how long I can keep this up. Don't know if I'll make it to day 100, let alone day 15,695. But I don't have to make it that far. I just have to make it to day 91, then day 92, then one day at a time until I can't anymore. Mother Frost is patient. She'll wait. And when I'm cold enough, tired enough, broken enough, she'll welcome me home. But not today. Today I'm saying no. Again. Still no. Always no. That's all this is. A life made of refusals. A lifetime of choosing the hard way over the easy way. Of choosing growth over preservation. Of choosing pain over comfort. Is it worth it? Ask me in 43 years. If I make it that long, you close the journal. Outside, the last snow of winter is melting. Inside, you're still frozen. But you're here. And here is enough. For now. For today. For one more day. And maybe that's all any of us get. One more day. One more choice. One more refusal. String enough of them together, and you have a life. Not perfect. Not warm, but yours. And that has to be enough. Because the alternative is singing forever in a village that doesn't exist. Preserved in a moment that never changes. Warm in a way that costs everything that comes after. And you're not ready for that. Not yet. Maybe never. Or maybe next Christmas Eve. Or maybe in 43 years when you're as old as Margaret and just as tired and finally decide you've earned the right to rest. But not today. Today you're still fighting. Still cold. Still alive. Still choosing the temporary over the eternal. Still insisting that suffering through winter after winter is better than sleeping through one perfect Christmas morning forever. Still proving that Mother Frost can be refused. Still saying no. And somewhere, in a forest that exists everywhere and nowhere, in a village made of Christmas and cold and consciousness, Mother Frost waits. Patient as winter. Eternal as cold. Knowing that everyone gets tired eventually. Everyone gets cold enough eventually. Everyone comes home eventually. But not today. Not you. Not yet. And that's enough. It has to be enough. Because one more day of fighting is one more day of being alive. And being alive cold and difficult and painful and temporary is still better than being perfect and preserved and stopped. Isn't it? Ask me tomorrow. I'll tell you then. If I make it,